CFL Live. Tonight's game from Taylor Field in Regina. The Edmonton Eskimos versus the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
Good evening and welcome to CFL Control. I'm Darren DeTitian. Thanks for joining us this evening as we continue our ongoing coverage of the Canadian Football League. For years, they have been storied rivals. In fact, it's the stuff that legends are made of in the West. Since 1938, the Edmonton Eskimos and the Saskatchewan Roughriders have been at battle, with the Eskimos winning the majority of the wars. Tonight, another chapter will begin at Taylor Field. As you know, it can often be the margin of victory. Special teams always carry a huge significance on any given punt or kick. The game can be decided in seconds, and that's our key matchup. The Eskimos special teams were great against the Argos, pressuring Wayne Lambley all day long. That means the Riders kickers, Dave Ridgway and Brent Matich, will have to be on their toes. And as per usual at this time of year, the weather and the wind is up at Taylor Field, and that could also factor in. Let's go to Taylor Field as Gord and Glenn are standing by.
Thanks very much, Darren. A quarterbacking controversy in Regina seems like an annual affair, Glenn. Same thing last year with Tom Burgess and Warren Jones.
That's right. And with Warren Jones coming over for Winnipeg, Ray Yawk has a guy he can go to right away off the bench if Tom Burgess gets in trouble, like he did in Week 1 for Saskatchewan. But make no mistake, Burgess is the starting quarterback. He's got 2 Grey Cup rings under his belt, and he's got a 5,000-yard passing season in Ottawa in '93, so he knows how to play.
Now, for the Edmonton Eskimos, the big story last week against Toronto was Lucius Floyd, a former Rider, with 3 touchdowns for the Edmonton Eskimos.
That's right. Since Damon Allen and Eddie Brown went to Memphis for Edmonton, Lucius Floyd is the go-to guy, and Ron Lancaster likes to get him out of the backfield and into the pass patterns, trying to get that mismatch with Lucius Floyd on a linebacker.
Kind of a weird home and home between these two. The Eskimos have won 8 of the last 10 in Edmonton, but the Riders have won 8 of the last 10 here. So hope springs eternal for Saskatchewan Roughrider fans like those from Porcupine Plain, Saskatchewan. Darren?
Hey, thanks very much, Gord. For those of you out there who don't know, I hail from Porcupine Plain, Saskatchewan, but I did spend the last 7 years in Edmonton, so I'm kind of torn over this one. You know, there are many things in the world of sport you can't predict, but our game story should be tonight's guideline. First, it's the Eskimos special teams, perennially strong this year. It is no exception. Can the Roughies stop Lucius Floyd? He can do it all out of the backfield, either as a running back or a receiver. Who will get the job done at quarterback for Saskatchewan? Burgess or Jones? Every team needs a ground game, and boy, do they ever. The Saskatchewan Roughriders are struggling to replace Mike Saunders. While our focus is on Taylor Field, there is another game in the Canadian Football League tonight. The Memphis Mad Dogs are playing host to the BC Lions in their first ever home game. BC's having their way with them in the second quarter, 14-1. Would you believe that for the second time only in 20 years, Louis Pasaglia has missed a convert? We'll have more on Lou. Let's go back to Gordon Glenn at Taylor Field. Gentlemen.
Thanks very much, Darren. A pretty nice night for football here in Regina. The skies have been threatening all evening long. However, it's sunny right now, not much wind. Good news as Dave Ridgway prepares to kick it off, and he sends it short. It's taken up at the 25-yard line by Henry Williams. The gizmo across the 35 up to the 40-yard line, where he is tackled quickly on the play by Brian Randall. Kerwin Bell gets his second straight start at quarterback for the Edmonton Eskimos after an impressive debut where he was 16 of 29 for 280 yards. The starting lineup's brought to you by Mr. Sub. Fresh thinking is what we are. Rod Conop, the 14-year veteran, anchors the offensive line. And the Eskimos scored 5 rushing touchdowns last week for the first time since 1959. Now 1st and 10 from the 40. And Bell is up to throw. Quickly, he throws it up over the head of Shalon Baker. And Baker at 5'6" has had to endure plenty of short jokes in this training camp for the Edmonton Eskimos. And right away, you see Edmonton go back to the no-huddle offense.
That's right. Shalon Baker, what a start for him in his first game in the CFL. 4 catches for 101 yards.
On second down, Bell. A little deeper this time, back to Shalon Baker, who backs out of bounds. Makes the catch in front of Benson Donaldson, a gain of 12 and an Edmonton first down.
They're real excited about Shalon Baker. Shalon Baker's one of those guys that reminds them of Gizmo Williams after he catches the ball.
And you see the starting defense for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, and yes, Dave Van Bellingham takes the spot of Glenn Suter, who is the starting safety for Saskatchewan for the last 11 years. First down for the Eskimos, just on their own side of midfield at the 52. Bell over the middle and complete to C.J. Davis. The ball came out. Are they ruling a fumble? The whistle had gone. so the game will count. Aaron Ruffin in to make the stop.
One thing that Edmonton Eskimos are going to try and do, they know that Saskatchewan is going to run a lot of man-to-man coverage and send a lot of people. When you run man, you run those over and under routes. That's just the under route. A nice catch coming underneath, and the ground cannot make you fumble. So the ruling was no fumble.
Gain of 4, it's 2nd and 6, and now Bell on the receiver's screen to Shalon Baker, and that time it's snuffed out very quickly as Aaron Ruffin came up to make the stop. And Shalon Baker is stopped well short of the first down.
Yeah, and Aaron Ruffin, there's have to be a little bit of juggling in the Saskatchewan secondary. Aaron Ruffin has moved over to the halfback spot. He was a nickel for Dale Joseph, but what a start for Shalon Baker in his first game, 101 yards.
And now Glenn Harper back to punt. Terrell Ulmer is back deep with Aaron Ruffin. Lots of time for Harper, who gets a high kick away. This is Ruffin from the 17. And Ruffin gets past the first wave, but gets tripped up by Michael Souls and brought down at the Saskatchewan 30-yard line. A 37-yard punt, an 11-yard return. Tom Burgess started 5 for 17 last week, finished up 29 for 52. The 52 attempts are a career high. And like the Edmonton Eskimos, the Saskatchewan Roughriders have a veteran center. It's 12-year veteran Mike Anderson who anchors things. And Ray Elgard moves back to slot back. The CFL's all-time leading receiver was a fullback in the first game last week. They want him more involved in the offense. On first down, the toss goes out to John Hood, and Hood, not much doing there as Willie Pless, the CFL's all-time leading tackler, gets another stop. They started keeping that stat back in 1987, and since then, Willie Pless has recorded 750 tackles. Pless and Ruck were the big part of a goal line stand for the Edmonton Eskimos last week, where they stopped the Toronto Argonauts 3 times from the 1. And a veteran defensive backfield, with the exception of the left corner, Darian Hagan, a quarterback converted to defensive back. Gain of 2, it's 2nd and 8. Burgess, lots of time, guns it over the middle for Elgard. It's intercepted by Larry Ruck, and Larry Ruck has his 2nd interception in as many games as Ray Elgard tips it up into the hands of the Edmonton linebacker.
And really, that's too bad for Tom Burgess, for Saskatchewan fans. They needed him to come out, have confidence early in the game, and this play really wasn't his fault. He had Elgard coming underneath the coverage. He threw a nice ball to him, and it just got through Elgard's hands, and of course, Larry Ruck was sitting right behind for the interception, but really not Tom Burgess' fault, and it's a tough way for him to start the game considering his start last week. What a career for Larry Ruck, and a great game last week versus the Argos for Ruck.
Might have been their best defensive player. First down for the Eskimos from the 41, and Kerwin Bell wants it now. C.J. Davis dives for it and can't make the catch. Aaron Ruffin back there for the coverage.
What Edmonton did there is they put 3 receivers to one side, and that forces Aaron Ruffin to come over from his halfback spot, and when he comes over, Kerwin Bell knows he's got man-to-man coverage and goes to the corner route on Ruffin, and they had him, just missed him by inches.
Brings up a 2nd down for the Eskimos, and now Kerwin Bell will go back to the shotgun. 3 receivers to the near side. And that's where Bell is looking. With time, he looks for Davis and one hops it to him again with Ruffin once again on the coverage. It'll bring up a 3rd and long for the Edmonton Eskimos as Sean Fleming and the field goal unit come onto the field.
Yeah, and Gord, on that last play, Edmonton did the exact same thing, but this time Saskatchewan played what they call their safety low package. They brought Dave Van Bellingham out of the middle low, and he actually double covered with Aaron Ruffin on that play, and that was one that bounced in the dirt. But Aaron Ruffin was a real big surprise for the Saskatchewan Roughriders this year. He came in and they say was the best defensive back in training camp.
Bruce Dixon is well offside as they throw him the football. He's at the first down marker. The Edmonton Eskimos were running a fake there, and they tried to fool the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Bruce Dixon, a backup linebacker, number 36 for Edmonton, ran towards the sidelines like Edmonton had too many men. Then he ran upfield to run a pass route, but he was 5 yards over the line of scrimmage when the ball was thrown to him, and referee Bud Steen will no doubt be calling this back.
Yeah, you know, the key on that kind of play is that you got to sell it. I remember Don Matthews years ago trying to run one of those with Lance Chomick, and you got to run over to the bench and act like you're too many men on the field. But when you do that, sometimes you're doing it with the guy who's not used to catching the ball, not used to that situation. He got a little excited and jumped the gun.
Offside. Edmonton, number 36. Third down repeated.
So the ball has moved back to the 46-yard line, and here's a look at what they were doing.
See, this is where the acting comes in, Gord. You got to look at. They're saying, "Get off the field. We got too many men." Dixon's supposed to act, and he's going, "Okay, now I get a chance to catch the ball," but he's, whoops. I'm a little bit over the line of scrimmage here before it snapped.
So the attempt now will come from the 53-yard line. Fleming has plenty on it. And it is good. The Edmonton Eskimos with a 53-yard field goal by Sean Fleming survive a botched fake. They have the first points on the evening. 3-0 Edmonton lead.
Seat number 5. Make yourself known.
Brought to you by Pepsi. Pepsi reminds you to be young, have fun, drink Pepsi. And by Bell Advantage Long Distance Services, from the Alliance of Canada's only full-service telecommunications companies.
Ron Lancaster's CFL coaching career began here in Saskatchewan. He was 4-28 as the head coach of the Riders in 2 years. Guess what? Today, if his Edmonton Eskimos win, Ron Lancaster completes the long journey back. He'll be 500 as a CFL head coach, 53 wins, 53 losses in the regular season. And he faces a former Eskimo head coach in Ray Yock, who guided them to a Grey Cup title back in 1975. But he has struggled against his former team. Yock is 4-11 lifetime against the Eskimos. And his Saskatchewan Roughriders begin now after the Fleming field goal, 1st and 10 from their own 35. And the give is to John Hood, the new tailback for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Dives ahead for a gain of 5 yards. The tackle made by Singer Mobley. Well, we talked about the two head coaches in this football game. Plenty of experience as players and as head coaches. And look at the all-time coaching records. Ray Yock is a good 18 games over 500. And Hugh Campbell, the general manager who's here, is the all-time leader among coaches in the CFL. Now on 2nd down, Tom Burgess to the sidelines, has a man, and completes it Albert Turner. And Turner close to a 1st down as he's brought down right at the 45-yard line. Glenn Rogers makes the stop.
You can see that the Saskatchewan Roughriders offense right now is trying to establish a running game. That was a question mark for them since Mike Saunders has left. But on 2nd down, you're going to go to the sideline to Albert Turner, who is a real big play guy for Saskatchewan. Last year, Albert Turner caught 15 passes. 5 of them went for touchdowns.
And he's on the same pace this year. 4 catches last week. 1 of them was for a score. So his line so far as a CFL player is 19 catches for 6 touchdowns. And the give is once again to John Hood, and Hood slips up this time after a gain of a couple. Benny Goods was in to help make the tackle. I'll mark it as a gain of 2.
Ray Yock is really going to try and stick with that philosophy, and that is to get a running game going early. So far, on every play, we've got run off 1st down. Hood just tries to make the cutback. He came over from Hamilton, and he's one of those guys that Ray Yock is hoping will fill the place and fill the shoes of Mike Saunders. But believe me, those big shoes to fill.
From Central Michigan, and yes, the Riders have the Michigans covered. We'll talk about that in a moment. On 2nd down, Burgess under pressure over the middle and incomplete. Looking there for Bruce Boyko, and Boyko was open for a moment as he was working on Willie Pless.
Yeah, they're trying to get Boyko onto Pless. It's Boyko onto a linebacker, and they think that they got a pretty good matchup there because Boyko used to be a slot back. Gets into the open area, just misses the pass.
Now Bruce Boyko from Western Michigan. So the Riders have players from Central Michigan, Western Michigan, Eastern Michigan, Northern Michigan, and Michigan State. But nobody from Michigan. Flags are down as Bruce Dixon was offside again. Remember, he jumped on the fake field goal attempt, and this time number 36 was one of the Eskimos who crossed the line of scrimmage on this Brent Matic punt attempt.
You know, Jeff Reinbold is a special teams coach in Edmonton.
Offside. Edmonton, number 36. 3rd down repeated.
And Reinbold gets these guys pumped up for the game. And last week they had so much pressure on Argos punter Wayne Lamley, and they came in this game thinking they're going to block one, so they're a little excited.
Brings up a 3rd and 4, and Matic just kind of chopped at that, trying to keep it away from Henry Williams. It bounces down around the 30-yard line. Mark Tobert picks it up. Flags are down, and so is Tobert as he stopped at the 36-yard line. A 27-yard punt and a return of 4. The Saskatchewan Roughriders trail 3-0 in the first quarter.
Welcome back to CFL Control. The BC Lions are trying to make it 2 in a row there. In Memphis tonight, it is the Mad Dogs' first ever regular season home game. It is now 14-4. Chris Gardner with a 40-yard field goal. McManus, by the way, hit Stefan Petezik. That made it 14-1. Corey Philpott also with a 3-yard run in the game. We'll continue to update it. The Calgary Stampeders and the Shreveport Pirates, they will do battle tomorrow. We will have that game for you. Let's go back to Gordon Glenn.
Thanks very much, Darren. And don't forget, tomorrow, 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 Pacific. Glenn, you can just hear him in Memphis. How do we get 4? How'd y'all get 4?
Yeah, there'll be some adjustments to make, that's for sure.
And we'll be down there next week in Memphis and then in Birmingham. Here's a fumble by Kerwin Bell. He was unable to grab the snap. Ron Getz, the middle linebacker for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, was able to get there, and the first turnover of the game goes Saskatchewan's way.
Ron Getz has a nose for the football. Last year had a great season. Last game, 6 tackles to lead the Saskatchewan Roughriders, but he just always seems to be around the ball. Kerwin Bell loses the handle. Ron Getz right there to scoop it up. That center exchange, it looked like Knopp just held the ball a little bit long, and Kerwin Bell was kind of saying, hey, give it to me. I'm the one who's got to pull the trigger on this thing here.
Ron Getz was the Rider MVP last year. He's got a big turnover here for Saskatchewan. First down, Burgess guns it there to Larry Thompson on the receiver screen. Thompson dives down to the 27-yard line. Close to a Saskatchewan first down as Willie Pless came up to make the tackle.
Larry Thompson, another guy that the Riders want to get involved in the offense early and often. He had a great training camp and a real good offseason of strength training. Burgess just throwing up the hitch to Thompson and let him do the rest. He makes a couple of nice moves, little shake and bake there, and picks up a nice gain.
Gain of 9. It's now 2nd and 1. And Tom Burgess, seeing what Edmonton did to running backs last week on short yardage situations, decides not to take a chance. He dives straight ahead for the Saskatchewan first down.
Boy, Edmonton was great last week in short yardage. 3 times on the goal line they turned the Argos away, but in this case, Burgess just keeps the ball and gets in behind his veteran center, and Mike Anderson gets the first down and keeps the drive alive off the turnover.
Well, fond memories for Saskatchewan fans of a Tom Burgess game against Edmonton back in 1989, the Western Final, where he came off the bench, replacing Ken Austin, went 9 for 12 for 120 yards and 2 touchdowns, as Saskatchewan won the game and went on to win the Grey Cup. Now from the shotgun on first down, Burgess to Ray Elgard, and Elgard driven out of bounds by Morris Lawler. Actually, Ray Elgard kind of butted him out of bounds, but Elgard is down close to the 16-yard line and close to another Saskatchewan first down with a gain of 9.
Yeah, Elgard's one of those guys that he always likes to be the hammer and not the nail, and defensive backs just sort of shudder when he comes rolling through there, because believe me, when he gets in time for the contact, he's the guy who wants to deliver the blow.
And last week, Ray Elgard played his 195th game to move past a former safety on the Riders' all-time games played list into 4th. That would be you. Again, it's 2nd and short. Again, here is Hood with the carry. And Hood has what should be a Saskatchewan first down as he gets down to the Edmonton 14-yard line. John Hood from Central Michigan, as we mentioned, 3 years with Hamilton, and last season rushed for 415 yards and 3 touchdowns in limited action for the Ticats.
And Darren Joseph has come over from Ottawa in the trade with Chris Burns, and that's another guy that we may see in tonight's ball game. They're looking for that tailback, somebody who can be an impact player.
First down, Burgess hands off from the shotgun to Hood, trying to pick his way through the middle, and he is absolutely swarmed. Larry Ruck got there, so did Benny Goods, and there's Ray Yawk talking to backup quarterback Warren Jones.
And you know, what a time to try and prove yourself as a running back, trying to run against the Edmonton Eskimos defense. Little stun up front, and we got guys like Larry Ruck, Leroy Blue all over the football, and it's tough to run on this Edmonton defense. So they got their work cut out for them if they want to prove something today as a running back.
They held a team meeting on John Hood that time. Gain of 1. It's 2nd and 9. Now Burgess. Lots of protection. Burgess to the end zone, and it is intercepted by Morris Lawler. Flags are down. They were looking into the end zone to Albert Turner, and he was held up at the goal line, and that allowed Morris Lawler to stand there by himself and intercept that pass.
You have to take another look at this one, but it's definitely going to be pass interference, Edmonton.
Deliberate forward pass interference. Edmonton, number 26. Penalty in goal. First down, Saskatchewan, 1-yard line.
You see the short yardage unit coming in, but here's a look.
Yeah, and here's quarterback Tom Burgess going to roll a little bit to the strong side of the field and then throw back to the corner route. And he gets back down and deep in the end zone, and there's all kind of clutching and grabbing going on away from the football. And that's where you get the penalty, and they're on the 1-yard line now.
Glenn Rogers was the man who was flagged. Now, on 1st and goal, Tom Burgess is in. So the Edmonton Eskimos, who benefited from 2 pass interference calls in the end zone last week, get called for 1 here, and it leads to the first touchdown of the football game.
And, Gord, we also saw Edmonton 3 times on the goal line last week stop the Toronto Argonauts. Not so this week with big Ray Elgard, Michelle Lamy, and Paul Vida leading the way on that right side of the offensive line. Tom Burgess just scoots underneath for the touchdown. And a good start for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, something that Burgess needed after that outing last week versus Hamilton.
And we heard earlier that Lou Pasaglia missed a convert today. Dave Ridgway has a streak of 202 straight, and the beat goes on for Ridgway. He might even catch Louis one day. Tom Burgess has the Saskatchewan Roughriders ahead, 7-3. The eyes of Saskatchewan were squarely on Tom Burgess coming into this football game, and the man who last year scored a career-high 6 rushing touchdowns as his first of the season here.
Yeah, and Gord, you can see the whole line of the scrimmage for the Edmonton Eskimos move back about a yard. That's a great surge by that offensive front 4. And you know, there's a lot of pressure on Tom Burgess, not only because of what's happening here on the football field, but he also had a new baby recently, and we'll mention that.
Well, 7 plays, 4 of them were running plays for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. When's the last time you saw a CFL team run the ball more than they threw it on a scoring drive? And Tom Burgess punches it in, but the big penalty was on Glenn Rogers for pass interference on Albert Turner in the end zone. And back deep, menacing is Henry Williams, and he may not see the ball much today. They've been kicking it away from him. Here he is now from the 25. And the Gizmo gets up to the 35, and he is swamped. Terrell Ulmer got down there to help make the stop. And the Gizmo, who has returned only 1 kickoff for a touchdown in his career, is stopped quickly by the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
And you know, Saskatchewan spent a lot of time during the week on special teams. You always do when you're playing against a guy like Gizmo Williams, but they're so good special teams wise, and they get so much good field position. They need to work hard on that.
Well, the Edmonton Eskimos have toyed with their hurry-up offense. They scored on their first possession last week. It's been a little bit of a slower start this week. 1st and 10 from the 35. Here comes the rush. Bell's under pressure. Gets away early and now throws it downfield looking for C.J. Davis. And a flag is down right at midfield. Benson Donaldson was there on the coverage. And Ron Lancaster thinks it's pass interference against the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
Looked like pass interference. It just depends on who. There was definitely some contact right in front of the Edmonton bench.
And referee Bud Steen is talking it over. We'll get his call.
Deliberate forward pass interference. Saskatchewan, number 33. Major foul, roughing the passer. Regina, number 22. First down, Edmonton.
Whoa, that's a huge one. Randall for roughing the passer, Ruffin for pass interference. It's a 30-yard penalty.
Yeah, and this is just an instance where you're going down the sideline on Aaron Ruffin. Curran Bell buys some time with the pressure from the Saskatchewan Roughriders, and when he turned that corner because of the pressure, Ruffin had to grab on and jump on the back of C.J. Davis, and there's the flag.
Now down to the Saskatchewan 42. Bell over the middle. Shalon Baker. Benson Donaldson clotheslines him down at the 35-yard line, and the gain is 7. And now we've got another flag down at the end of the play as pushing and shoving breaks up.
Looks like Aaron Ruffin may be involved in this one again, number 33 for Saskatchewan. You know, they've had to make some changes in that secondary with the injury to Dale Joseph, who started at the beginning of the season, and Ruffin's been moved to the halfback spot, and he's been worked on early in this game, but is a great defensive back in his own right and had an excellent training camp.
And referee Bud Steen has been busy so far today, and most of the penalties have been against the Saskatchewan Roughriders. This will be 3 straight.
Foul. Saskatchewan number 33. Major foul. Edmonton number 75. Second down.
So it's offsetting roughing calls against C.J. Davis and Aaron Ruffin. And it's now 2nd and 3. Irwin Bell to Jim Sandusky. A great catch by Sandusky. The ball's on the ground, and the Saskatchewan Roughriders have it. Sandusky lost the football, and Dave Van Bellingham, after 2 interceptions last week, has a fumble recovery. And Glenn, you'll never get back now.
Yeah, my job is toast if I ever wanted to return as a free safety. Dave Van Bellingham having a great start to the season. Now, what they're trying to do here, because of the man-to-man defense, is get the pick and get Sandusky underneath. They get the pattern and the catch, but a nice hit by Albert Brown coming up to strip the ball loose, and Van Bellingham hustling on the play, makes a recovery.
Dave Van Bellingham, a childhood friend of decathlete Michael Smith, and right now he's doing it all for Saskatchewan. Here's Hood, bouncing outside. Hood has a first down, still going. He's finally stopped at the Saskatchewan 46-yard line. Morris Lawler, the corner, had to come up and make the stop on running back John Hood. It's a gain of 16 yards.
And that's the type of play they're looking out of their running game for Saskatchewan Roughriders, and they're hoping John Hood will provide that consistently throughout the year. Real good, hard running play by Hood, and a nice gain.
And Ron Lancaster watches the Saskatchewan Roughriders apply some pressure to his defense. Saskatchewan leads it 7-3. 3.5 minutes to play here in the first quarter. And now the toss the other way to Hood. He's got blockers in front of him, but Willie Pless comes up and stops him. The loss will be 1 as Willie Pless just streaked in there and nailed him for a loss.
What a career Willie Pless has had. The Terminator sniffed that one immediately on the snap of the ball. The Terminator was flying over there, and Hood was trying to pick his hole. And when you're dancing back there in the backfield and you got a guy like Willie Pless on the other side of the line of scrimmage, you better make up your mind where you want to go, because he's going to be in the hole.
And now we've got an injured Saskatchewan Roughrider. It's Scott Hendrickson who was shaken up on the play, and Scott facing his brother Craig today. They're both left guards. Scott for the Saskatchewan Roughriders and Craig for the Edmonton Eskimos. They've never played in a game against each other, and he's number 63 here.
And you can see on the snap of the ball, Willie Pless from the middle of your screen sniffed it out immediately, and when Hood starts to dance around back there and try and find an opening, Pless closes and snuffs that one right out. Willie Pless, when you're running on him, you got to decide where you're going and take off and hope that you're going to get the block on him, because he's going to fly around the football.
That was Robert Holland who got underneath Scott Hendrickson, and they appear to be checking his knee. And while we have a break here, let's go back to Darren Detition at CFL Control.
Thanks very much, gentlemen. Welcome back to CFL Control. It is indeed a busy day in the Canadian Football League. We've got another game going on. BC over Memphis by a score of 21-4. McManus with a couple of touchdown passes thus far. Let's go back to Gordon Glenn at Taylor Field.
Yeah, and a beautiful night for football here in southern Saskatchewan. Not much wind. And as they check Scott Hendrickson, there's an Edmonton Eskimo who's watching his progress closely. That's his brother Craig, who signed as a free agent with the Edmonton Eskimos last year. They're both the sons of Lefty Hendrickson, a former Canadian Football League player in his own right. Yeah, they went through the milk and bread at the Hendrickson household, I think.
Yeah, these two guys, a great relationship. They really hope that each guy is successful, but boy, are they ever different in personality. You got Craig Henderson on one side, a born-again Christian athlete, and on the other side, Pooch Hendrickson. Scott, well, he's not.
And we'll just leave it at that. 2nd down and 11. Here's Burgess. He has time. He has a man. Narcisse is picked off by Morris Lawler. And and Lawler is off and running with blockers in front of him. Lawler up across midfield and still going out of bounds at the Saskatchewan 47-yard line. So after the turnover by the Edmonton Eskimos, Morris Lawler comes back and grabs that pass right out of the arms of Don Narcisse and gives Edmonton excellent field position.
You know, Edmonton likes to flip-flop Morris Lawler and Robert Holland to the wide side of the field. Lawler's in man-to-man coverage, and he's just sitting on the outside shoulder of Narcisse and waiting for the ball to be thrown. The ball's thrown a little bit behind the Don Narcisse. That allows Lawler to cut underneath for the interception, and Tom Burgess not happy, but hey, he's got to get involved and make sure that the Lawler doesn't score on it.
1st and 10 for the Eskimos from the Saskatchewan 47-yard line. Bell. They fake the receiver screen, give it to Lucius Floyd, and he is dropped. LeBryant Robinson with the stop with help from Bobby Jurison, and that play went absolutely nowhere. It's a loss of 10 yards.
Well, they tried to do the statue play where there's sort of a reverse pivot by Lucius Floyd, and he's picking it up, coming around the other way, and the only thing that's going to ruin this play is penetration, and LeBryant Robinson gets that, and that ends the play.
So now it's 2nd and 20. And Bell on his own side of midfield. Throwing it up deep over the middle. It's picked off. It is intercepted by Hinsey Charles. No, it's number 22, Brian Randall, with the interception. And turnovers have been the story here in the first quarter. The last 3 possessions have all ended in turnovers, and Ron Lancaster wants a call as he felt his receiver was held up before the ball got there, and General Manager Hugh Campbell's over there arguing as well.
That's right. This is just a situation where Kerwin Bell is fooled a little bit. He thinks it's man-to-man with the safety low and no help. But what happened is nickelback Randall rolled back to the middle. Bell didn't see him. And, hey, once you throw an interception, the quarterback has to be blocked. And those defensive linemen take it as a free shot on a quarterback and try and go get him. That's one of the things Lancaster was upset about.
Brian Randall with the interception gives Saskatchewan the ball back. Tom Burgess with a great fake. No one saw him with the ball. And Burgess is up to the 51-yard line as the entire Edmonton defense went for the fake, and Morris Lawler was there by himself to make the stop.
Not necessarily a play that you will see Tom Burgess run very often, but maybe this is something that they're saying, hey, we might also see Warren Jones, and this is definitely a play that we'd like to see Warren Jones, but it was set up because of the good running early in the game by John Hood out of the backfield.
Well, this game may be won by the team that stops putting the ball on the ground. The last 3 possessions have seen 2 fumbles and an interception, including Brian Randall's first in the CFL. Here's the toss now to Hood. Hood up across midfield is stuffed up by Larry Ruck. And he has a Saskatchewan first down after a gain of 6 as Scott Hendrickson returns to the Saskatchewan lineup.
Saskatchewan Roughriders obviously see something on the left side of this Edmonton defense. That's a couple of tosses in a row that have resulted in big gains for Saskatchewan. Really well blocked. You know, Bruce Boyko coming out of that backfield, always good in the blocking. You know, he never carried the ball last year once and played 18 games as a fullback. So you know he's going to be doing the blocking for you.
That's astounding. What should be the final play of the first quarter, Tom Burgess. Up to the sideline for Narcisse, almost picked up again by Lawler. But this time, Don Narcisse makes the catch, gets down to the 35-yard line where he's forced out of bounds by Glenn Rogers. That time they take advantage of Morris Lawler, who is looking for his 2nd interception. It's a gain of 14. The first quarter has come to a conclusion. Let's send you now to our CFL Control Center.
Thanks very much, gentlemen. It was a wild first quarter in Saskatchewan. Meanwhile, in Memphis, the BC Lions are taking it to the Mad Dogs. It is their first ever regular season home game. It is now 21-4. Corey Philpott started off the scoring with his 3rd touchdown run of the season. You know, I mentioned that the convert was missed by Louis Pizzaglia. Only the 2nd time in 20 years that he's missed a convert. The significance, he's only 21 points back of 3,000. McManus then went to Stefan Patazik, 14-1. McManus hit Flutie for another touchdown. Like I said, they are giving him the business. Other news and notes from around the Canadian Football League. Jimmy Spiros rode a horse in with no name. Sounds like a Neil Young cut. But then it was announced that Baltimore would be known forevermore as the Stallions.
I think the name is strong. I think the name is fitting. And it's fitting for our second year. As we move forward, we put 94 behind us, and we'll be known from now on as the Baltimore Stallions.
Tomorrow, Baltimore will play San Antonio. The Texans, they are 1-0. The Stallions are 0-1. Let's go back to Gord and Glenn, who are standing by at Taylor Field. Gentlemen?
Thanks very much, Darren. The story in the first quarter of this game, 5 turnovers between the two teams, 3 of them by the Edmonton Eskimos, and Saskatchewan was penalized 3 times for 38 yards, but the biggest penalty of the opening quarter was the one that led to the only touchdown by Tom Burgess.
The pass interference call, yeah, and I'm also looking, when you look at the stats, time of possession for Saskatchewan, 10 minutes to 4. I mean, that's a telling stat in itself. Saskatchewan has controlled the first quarter, and another stat there that's important is rushing. They wanted to involve that rushing game early, and they have in this first quarter.
And Tom Burgess is a proud new papa again, as you mentioned.
Yeah, that's right. And congratulations to Tom and his wife. A lot of pressure on Burgess, not only as a football player, but also as a dad. That's his second child. Her name is Devin. Everyone's healthy and happy. So congratulations to the Burgess family.
So maybe that's why Tom isn't sleeping in there. After the gain by Narcisse, it's a 1st and 10 for Saskatchewan at the Edmonton 35. 3 receivers to the far side. They hand it off to John Hood. Hood gets through the first wave and gets piled up at the 27-yard line as the stop is made by Willie Platts. Well, we mentioned Don Narcisse a moment ago, the CFL record holder with 6 straight 1,000-yard receiving seasons, and now has caught a pass in 128 straight games.
And he was telling me today he's going to be running against Lawler for most of the game, and he says what he's going to try and do is get him on the in route, and he likes to stem him, and I'll explain a little bit about that later when we get a shot of Don Narcisse running a pattern, but that's the game plan against Lawler.
9 more games with a catch, and he'll catch Tony Gabriel for the CFL record. Now here's the pass gunned out there. They were looking for David Pitcher. Check that, it's Albert Turner, number 86, and Turner had the pass knocked out of his hand, so it seems like he only catches it when it's in the end zone.
Yeah, he's got a great stat when it comes to scoring touchdowns, but that time a nice job by the Edmonton defensive backs getting out there, squeezing the play and making it a little bit tougher to catch that. It's harder to catch that ball when there's a crowd of bodies and legs flying around you. It takes a little more concentration. Albert Turner didn't have it there, and it'll cause Ridgway to kick the field goal.
Here comes David Ridgway with Joey Yock holding, replacing Glenn Suter. This try from 36 yards out. Ridgway was perfect last week. And he hasn't missed one yet this season. Man, they really don't miss you here, Glenn.
They definitely don't, and a nice hold by Joey Yock. Joey Yock has done it before, and he's really good at it. And, you know, Joey Yock is the coach's son, so he's there forever.
See, that was your mistake. Now you get to second guess him here.
Well, you know, he's holding the exact same way I did, and that was to have that left side leg up, put that hand up for a target for the center. The ball comes back. Make sure you catch it first, get it on the tee, get that right hand away, and he didn't have to move the ball because the snap was perfect. The laces were facing away from the kicker, because believe me, if you put the laces out there and Dave Ridgway kicks them, you hear about it the rest of the game.
Especially when he's your roommate.
That's right.
And Dave Ridgway, who is just waiting for the day that Lou Pasaglia retires and he can start taking a run at his CFL all-time scoring record. And Ridgway, by the way, is 21 points behind Dave Cutler coming into this game for second all-time on the CFL scoring list. So with 4 points today, he's now just 17 points back of Dave Cutler.
I think those two will play for another 5-6 years.
Ron Lancaster was kidding him today, saying, yeah, he doesn't think Louis has more than 10-15 years left in him. Here's Darian Hagan now from the 15. Hagan gets outside and puts his head down and drills Errol Brown out of bounds. So being the hammer and not the nail works that time as well. A 67-yard kickoff, a return of 29. And so far, Kerwin Bell has been intercepted. He has 3 interceptions so far this season. He's 5 of 9 on the evening so far. And some evil-looking weather is moving in here at Taylor Field in Regina. So Bell might want to get things going in a hurry before this settles into a ground war in the rain. On first down, Bell gets it up there for Number 5, that is Shalon Baker. And it's a pickup of 10 for Baker, who has quickly turned into the favorite receiver for Kerwin Bell. And you can see the temperature here. Not much of a wind, but they had a spectacular lightning storm last night here in Regina. It looks like we're in for a repeat this evening.
And thinking about playing in Taylor Field with this weather, it could be raining and a lightning storm now, and then in about 5 minutes it'll be sunny, and then it'll be raining again. It never knows. Always changing here in Taylor Field.
I can remember Ron Lancaster telling me he called the weather office one time to see what it was going to be like. They said, should rain in the first quarter, be sunny in the second, might rain again in the third, and the wind will change directions in the fourth. Ron said he was so confused by the end of the call, he wanted to move the game to another city. And you can see as we look off to the north here at Taylor Field and the west that the clouds are moving in, and there appears to be rain in them. It was a first down for Shalon Baker, who now has 4 catches for 28 yards already. Lucius Floyd, the lone man in the backfield, and Bell is up to throw. Jim Sandusky had to go through his hands. Vincent Donaldson there on the coverage, but Sandusky, who fumbled earlier, had that pass go through his hands. And you know what? In the film session, he won't catch it from the coaches because he's an assistant coach now.
That's right. You know, the team is starting to call him MacGyver because he's the gadget guy out there. He makes up plays all the time. If he sees something with his experience, he'll go back to the huddle and say, here, let's try this.
On second down, Bell gets it up through the middle for Nick Mazzoli, and Mazzoli very close to an Edmonton first down, just across midfield at the Saskatchewan 53. Aaron Ruffin is there with the stop, and it's a gain of close to 10 yards, and we'll see if he did manage to pick up an Edmonton first down. If he didn't, they'll almost surely go for it.
And it's a good job by Kerwin Bell. First of all, looking off Randall as the middle safety, and then turning that curl route on Ruffin. You know, it's going to be interesting to watch the flow of this football game because Saskatchewan runs so many blitzes and so much man-to-man coverage. Looks like first down for Edmonton by inches, but so much man-to-man coverage by Saskatchewan that you're going to see a lot of one-on-one matchups, and that means that you're going to have mono-a-mono. Let's see, the best man wins, and it'll be interesting to see some of these matchups tonight.
Might have been a loose stitch on the end of that football. That's all they made it by. First down for the Eskimos. They trail 10-3. Now Bell has that pass tipped at the line of scrimmage. He was looking there for Mark Tobert, and that pass falls incomplete.
And of course, you know, when you're in man-to-man on defense, and Tyrell Ulmer there making a nice play over the middle, your man-to-man on defense usually means you're sending some pressure. And Kerwin Bell and that front 4, or front 5 of Edmonton rather, has got their work cut out for him to handle that pressure.
Now he's under pressure again, brings it down, slips and falls, and then he shoveled it ahead, but Ron Getz got in there to touch him, and play is whistled down as Kerwin Bell just flat out slipped on the turf here at Taylor Field.
Yeah, he had good time and good protection. Again, Saskatchewan going with the blitz, sending Ron Getz on the blitz, and he has nice time in the pocket, pump faking, but then he doesn't see what he wants coverage-wise, and because he was almost committed to throwing, almost lost the handle on the ball, had to just make sure he recovered it.
A loss of 6, and Glenn Harper is in to punt for the Edmonton Eskimos. Terrell Ulmer and Aaron Ruffin are back deep to receive. It's off the side of his foot, and now it's Ruffin from the 18-yard line. Gets past the first wave, and here goes Aaron Ruffin. Ruffin, one man to beat. Here comes Glenn Rogers behind him, and he saves a touchdown. Aaron Ruffin, first down to the Edmonton 37, and only a tackle by Glenn Rogers Jr. stopped him from getting to the end zone after a 55-yard return.
And a nice return by Aaron Ruffin, but watch the key block here by newcomer Brian Randall on his PJ Esquardo. He's going to come down the field. He's going to keep working, get good position right here. And as Aaron Ruffin picks up the ball, bam, 2 guys he takes inside. That gives Aaron Ruffin a little crease up the middle, and then he does the rest, little dipsy doodle right there. And nice return by Aaron Ruffin. Boy, what a start to the season Ruffin has had. He's been battling C.J. Davis on defense and had a couple of penalties go against him. But big return like that will turn it around for
Aaron Ruffin.
And there's the man, Brian Randall, who made the big block that you pointed out. The Saskatchewan Roughriders with great field position. 1st and 10 at the Edmonton 37. Saskatchewan leads it 10-3. Here's Hood again, and Hood appeared to slip. Flags are down, and so is Hood as he gets down to the Edmonton 30-yard line. And it appears that the call will go against the Saskatchewan Roughriders, as holding is the indication.
Holding, Saskatchewan, number 63. First down repeated.
Scott Hendrickson called for holding. That'll negate the 7-yard gain by John Hood.
And he's got to block one of the best defensive run stoppers in the league in Willie Pless, and got the hook on him and got called for the holding. Sometimes it's the only way you can block Willie Pless is by holding him, and that time Henderson got caught.
You can see Hendrickson still limping noticeably after being shaken up earlier. Now on 1st and 20, here's Burgess over the middle, and Larry Thompson almost got his head taken off at the end of that play as Trent Brown, the safety, came across, and the pass fell incomplete.
Yeah, and Trent Brown, they're playing what's called a bracket coverage in that instance, and Trent Brown is told to bracket the outside receiver. That means to double cover the outside receiver. Any in-cut by Larry Thompson is the responsibility of Trent Brown, and that time he came across and made the play.
The nephew of former Eskimo Ed Molstad, who took the starting job from Dan Murphy. Now 2nd and 20, and Burgess from the shotgun hands it off, and that's a gain of maybe 4. And now the fans are getting a little restless here at Taylor Field, as they were hoping perhaps for a little more daring on that 2nd and long, but then again they're pretty close to field goal range for Dave Ridgway, so the ball goes up to the 44-yard line.
Watch Paul Vida. He's been having a real good game on that goal line, and then a nice block right there on Hunter, and that gave Hood a couple of extra yards. But like you said, Gord, on that kind of situation, you know, you want to get that running game established, but possibly a little too much running there.
Now from the 51, Dave Ridgway, who has not yet missed this year. Got enough on it, and put that knuckler through. Dave Ridgway is 5 for 5 in 95, and the Saskatchewan Roughriders have a 10-point lead over Edmonton.
CFL Live, brought to you in part by 3M Canada, imagining the unthinkable and developing the unknown. That's 3M Innovation at Work.
Back at Taylor Field in Regina, and the Saskatchewan Roughriders have a 10-point lead over the Edmonton Eskimos. Here comes Lucius Floyd, and he's run down by linebacker Ron Getz. And Getz, who led the Saskatchewan Roughriders in tackling last year with 96, comes up with a big stop here. Edmonton has lost 10 yards along the ground, has just 4 first downs in the first half, and has turned the ball over 3 times.
And we talked about Lucius Floyd being involved as a pass-catching running back, and with all the man-to-man that Saskatchewan is running, surprising we haven't seen that.
Here's Bell. Bell fires it up, and Terrell Ulmer gets the hand in there on C.J. Davis, and now we've got a flag down right where the play happened, and Terrell Ulmer may be called for pass interference.
And this is the one that really drives defensive backs, and that's because it is pass interference when you get that backhand or right hand on the back of the receiver, but it's so subtle.
Non-deliberate forward pass interference, Saskatchewan number 2, 10-yard penalty, first down, Edmonton.
Well, he didn't mean to.
Yeah, yeah. You never mean to when you have an interference, but he's in his back pedal and gets the outcut by C.J. Davis. And see that right hand just on the back of Davis's shirt was the penalty, but that's pretty incidental contact.
Now Bell with the long throw out to the flat and complete over there to Nick Mazzoli. And the stop is made on the play by Aaron Ruffin, but that's a long throw in the Canadian Football League out to that wide flat.
It sure is, and you see that we're going back to the hurry-up offense. Kerwin Bell, it simplifies things for him, simplifies his reads.
On 2nd and 6, Bell sidearm, and he was looking for Nick Mazzoli there, but again, Aaron Ruffin was on top of him. And he had pressure all over him as Sean Brantley, LeBryant Robinson, and Glenn Kulka were all in there for Saskatchewan.
That's right. You're going to see Dan Razovich coming into your screen at the top on a stunt. He comes in late, right up the middle, provides a little pressure on Kerwin Bell, and he has to throw it out. But Edmonton's going to that hurry-up offense. He throws it in the dirt here because Joe Paopao wants to simplify things for Bell until he learns his players and learns his receivers. It also simplifies the defensive schemes.
Here's a good kick by Glenn Harper into the wind. It bounces down around the 12-yard line, and it'll be marked inside the 20. The Edmonton Eskimos down by 10 have the ball back at Taylor.
Welcome back to CFL Control. Somewhat of a surprising start for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. The Eskimos offense, they can't get it going, but tomorrow we'll get it going as we take off to Shreveport. The Calgary Stampeders are in town. Doug Flutie, always formidable. One of his favorite targets, Sapunjas. The sponge, he always sucks it up. Tomorrow, the game starts at 8 o'clock Eastern, everywhere but Ontario. It is the CFL Live on TSN. Let's go back to Gordon, Glenn, and gentlemen, like I was saying, somewhat of a surprising start for the Roughies.
Well, you knew they were under some pressure after last week, Darren. The fans here started booing them early in their game against the Hamilton Tiger Cats. This is the Grey Cup City, and the fans here would like to see their team at least take a run at getting into that game in November. The Riders have the ball back at their own 15-yard line with a 10-point lead. And here's the toss now to Hood, and Hood gets stacked up as he's marked for a gain of a couple. The tackle made by Willie Plass. Ron Lancaster's first game as coach of the Edmonton Eskimos was here at Taylor Field back in July of 1991. The very first play, Albert Brown returned the opening kickoff for a touchdown. Lancaster saw his team get down 20-0 in the opening quarter, but come back to win it. And his team has not won here since 1991.
Yeah, Albert Brown used to do a lot of those punt and kickoff returns back then, but he's a little older now and sticks to defensive back.
2nd and 8, and play is called before the ball is snapped as we had some early movement. And with just over 8 minutes to play here in the second quarter.
Time count violation. Number 12, Saskatchewan, 2nd down repeated.
Tom Burgess is called for taking too much time.
Sometimes those calls are relayed to Burgess from the bench, and Ray Yock, and sometimes takes a little longer to get things organized. It looks like that's what happened in that instance.
Now it's 2nd and 13 for the Riders, who have the wind at their back, and those storms we were talking about may be bypassing us. Now Burgess, with lots of room to run, comes up throwing across the middle, complete to Don Narcisse, up at the 30-yard line for a Saskatchewan first down. Willie Pless makes the stop, but a tough throw for Burgess back across his body into the middle.
It was a really good throw by Tom Burgess, and 4 receivers to one side for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, trying to get some pick or rub action. And we talked about Don Narcisse trying to work back into that middle. He does in that case and tries to find the open area. Tom Burgess gets the corner. That means breaks containment, gets some room to run. But watch the throw across his body. That was a good throw by quarterback.
Gain of 17 yards up at the Saskatchewan 30-yard line. And Burgess looking deep this time for Narcisse, and he almost made the catch. Morris Lawler was there on the coverage, and Narcisse, had he had half a stride, would have been gone.
Yeah, Don Narcisse, not known for taking you deep very often. He's a good pattern runner, and these two are going to be matched up all game, a lot of times in man-to-man. Watch the subtle, oh, you just missed the subtle little push there by Narcisse before we saw the play at that end, but inches away from a big game for Tom Burgess, and pretty good coverage by Lawler. That's a matchup we're going to follow because those two will battle, two veterans.
And look at the Saskatchewan Roughriders in total offense, and the Edmonton Eskimos have run into a tough defense here at Taylor Field. On 2nd down, Burgess has time, has a man, it's Narcisse, and Narcisse has another Saskatchewan first down. Robert Holland makes the stop, but it's a gain of 13 yards and another Saskatchewan first down, and Tom Burgess is off to the kind of start that he wanted to see.
That's right, and it's the same play that they ran earlier when Burgess threw across the body. That is 4 receivers to one side. But this time, Edmonton gives them a zone defense, but the veteran Don Narcisse finds the hole in that zone in between Pless and number 17, Robert Holland, and makes the catch.
Now first down. They fake the toss to Hood. Burgess throws this one high up in the air, and That was complete to Rod Connup, the Edmonton center, who made a nifty one-handed grab down there on the Edmonton sideline. And Rod Connup with a big smile.
And a nice job by Leroy Blue on the play. He wasn't fooled by the play action, and Burgess had to throw it away. And Connup doesn't get very often he gets to catch a pass. Like never.
Well, you know what, though? Rod Connup has 2 career kickoff returns for 27 yards. He was quick to point that out, so I'm sure next week he'll be badgering the stats man for credit for a catch there. Here it's 2nd down and 10 for Burgess, and Burgess to Narcisse again, and Narcisse, a great job to walk the wire at the sidelines. He gets a pickup of 9 and a bit, and he'll be very close to another Saskatchewan first down.
And this is what we were talking about earlier about stemming. Watch Don Narcisse come off the football inside, stem back to the outside, and then just roll to the out pattern. But hey, credit to Darian Hagan, who closed quickly, pushed him out of bounds to limit the gain. But that's what we talked about when I was saying stemming the receiver, or stemming the defensive back, moving him inside, moving him back outside, and then rolling into your pattern. And Don Narcisse is one of the best at it.
A 2-time All-Canadian who hasn't missed a game since 1988. Don Narcisse may be the most underrated player in the Canadian Football League. And this time he picked up 9 3/4, so it'll be 3rd and a couple of inches for the Saskatchewan Roughriders just on their own side of midfield. And Don Narcisse leaves the field for the jumbo unit for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. The short yardage unit is out there for the guys in green. And Tom Burgess just dives straight ahead. And he has another Saskatchewan first down in what's turning out to be a time-consuming Rough Rider drive.
But that's what the Saskatchewan Roughriders want to do. You know, when you're playing against the Edmonton Eskimos, or really any team for that matter, you want your offense to stay on the field, keep the ball out of the hands of the opposing team's offense. And for the first half anyway, Saskatchewan's been able to do that. And it's exactly the type of game Tom Burgess likes to be in.
And that might have been a problem for the Saskatchewan Roughriders last year. Defensive players talked about it a lot. Their offense simply left the defense on the field too much, particularly early in the year. Been an impressive march for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Up around midfield, they hand it off now to John Hood. And Hood lost the football. Still bouncing around, and it looks like they got it back as Hood pounced on his own fumble. Leroy Blue was there for Edmonton. And it was John Hood who was able to edge him out for the loose ball.
Yeah, and a great job by Leroy Blue. We talked about him in the last play where he wasn't fooled by play action. This time they go to the handoff. He comes upfield, but then cuts underneath, gets the big arm out there, and strips the ball from Hood. And Hood's fortunate to be able to recover his own fumble, but nice play by Leroy Blue.
And not much of a gain there. Brings up 2nd and 10. Here comes Burgess. Here comes the rush. He gets the pass away up to the sideline to Narcisse. He gets 8 yards, but he's too short of a first down. And that time, Tom Burgess just got out of the way of Singor Mobley, who had him in his sights.
And it looked like Tom Burgess took a little bit of time handling the snap, a little bit of low snap down to his boot. And what that does is it takes him away from his being able to read the defense when he has to reach down and get the football. But coming off the corner is Singor Mobley, and he's one of those guys that came over from Washington State in that #1 ranked defense last year.
And Dave Ridgway is out there for the Riders, and this will be a field goal try of 55 yards. So Ridgway, with his 5-0 mark on the season, putting it on the line here with a try right from midfield. The wind behind him. Ridgway, does he have enough? No. And here comes Gizmo from the end zone. Henry Williams by the first wave, and look out, he's just tripped up at the last second as he's stopped by Darren Joseph, number 20, and he prevented Gizmo from getting a long way as Dave Ridgway has missed his first field goal of 1995. And Dave Ridgway has the longest field goal in CFL history. That was 60 yards back in 1987. Edmonton's Sean Fleming has the 4th longest. And last year, if you recall, this was Dave Ridgway missing a field goal, and Gizmo took it all the way back. But there's an interesting play that happens coming up right about there. Who's that guy that went down like he was shot?
Well, you know, I knew I didn't have a hope of catching Gizmo Williams with his speed, so I thought maybe I could draw the penalty.
First down for the Eskimos from the 25, complete to Nick Mazzoli, and Mazzoli gets up to about the 46-yard line. He'll have an Edmonton Eskimo first down.
You know, interesting story about Dave Ridgway and those returns by Gizmo. One year, I believe it was 2 years ago, Ridgway tackled Gizmo on a return field goal. He was the last guy back. Got a big scar from Gizmo's helmet on his helmet. Left it there all year because he said, I never get to hit him, so I'm going to keep this one here to prove that I can.
Here's Bell, and Bell was looking there for Lucius Floyd, and there was the matchup they wanted, the running back on the linebacker, and Ron Getz was with him step for step.
And I tell you, credit to Ron Getz, because this is the matchup that Joe Paopao and the Edmonton Eskimos are looking for. They believe that Lucius can beat your linebacker, but Getz, with a little bit of holding, got away with it early, and then is right in the hip pocket of Lucius Floyd and just sticks that hand out right at the right time and knocks the ball down.
And there's an injured Saskatchewan Roughriders. You get a look at big Ron Getz, who came over from the Ottawa Roughriders and signed a free agent contract to re-sign with Saskatchewan in the offseason. LeBryant Robinson, another former Ottawa Roughrider, is the man down on the field, the man from Delaware State, as is Brian Randall. Delaware State, a small school that sent a half a dozen players to the Canadian Football League.
You don't want to lose Robinson in this instance. Looks like they're working on his knee.
And you see Troy Alexander coming into the game in his place. Alexander, an Edmonton native who was the 4th pick overall in the Canadian Football League. And while we have a chance to take a break here, let's go back to CFL Control.
Hey, thanks very much, Gord. The Memphis Mad Dogs trying to make a game of it at home. The BC Lions jumping out to the early lead, but Damon Allen is hooked up with Eddie Brown instead. Former Eskimo combination, a 26-yarder that has now cut the lead to 21-11 in the 3rd quarter. I wonder, will the Eskimos make a game of it in Saskatchewan? Gentlemen.
Well, they're down by 10 here with 3:11 to play in the 2nd quarter, and LeBryant Robinson heads off the field. 7 sacks last year for the big man, 6'4", 265.
Yeah, even smiling, he looks mean. He looks like he'll be all right.
2nd and 10 for the Edmonton Eskimos. 3 receivers to the near side of the field. Kerwin Bell has pressure, and he is down. Sacked by Gary Rogers. And the Saskatchewan defense is all over the Edmonton Eskimos. We're at the 3-minute warning, and the Green Riders lead it by 10.
Coming up at McDonald's halftime, we will preview tomorrow's clash in Steeltown. It is the Barracudas and the Cats. Hey, we have to have a Dave Ridgway feature. He's 5 of 6. And Gordon Glenn will give us their first half analysis. Not a lot of offense in this one thus far.
And part of that due to the fact that players like Gary Rogers have been in the face of players like Kerwin Bell all day.
That's one of the reasons this sack happened, was the great pressure by Sean Brantley up the middle. Make Kerwin Bell step up into the pocket, and Gary Rogers gets the sack. But sometimes it's the team defense that makes the sack happen, either good coverage or, in that instance, maybe good pressure from the offside.
And Glenn Harper back to punt. Terrell Ulmer and Aaron Ruffin are back deep to receive. High winding kick taken by Ruffin at the 30, and Ruffin, who had a good return earlier, is back underway here. Up across midfield. Aaron Ruffin still going, and down to the Edmonton 47-yard line, a 44-yard punt, and a return of 32 yards, and Aaron Ruffin has had quite a day returning the football.
Certainly has. He had a lot of responsibility moving over to that halfback position from the nickel position due to the injury to Dale Joseph. But, you know, in this first game, he had 4 kickoff returns for 123 yards, and just doing a nice job of really making his own holes. Michael Souls, a little one-on-one there, cuts back on him, and then just keeps moving up the field. Nice job by Aaron Ruffin to keep his feet. He looked a little bit like Mike Pinball Clemens running back there.
How about that tackle by the Pinball last night? Players from both teams were talking about that today. Woo! Excellent field position for Saskatchewan. 1st and 10 from the Edmonton 47. Here's Hood up the middle, and Hood gets up to the Edmonton 42-yard line. Willie Pless again in to make the stop. And if nothing else, the Saskatchewan Roughriders are in field goal range with under 2.5 minutes to play here in the opening half.
It's interesting to see that, you know, Edmonton Eskimos last week against the Argos were playing so well on special teams, and in this game, Saskatchewan has played well on special teams.
Excellent point. 2nd and 4. And Burgess to the shotgun. Quickly up to the sidelines. Don Narcisse with another catch in front of Morris Lawler. And it's another Saskatchewan first down, and that's vintage Don Narcisse.
That is vintage Narcisse, and a good throw by Tom Burgess. Drops back and throws a dart out to Don Narcisse, who's a precision route runner, and that means that oftentimes the quarterback will throw the ball before Narcisse even makes his break, and it's all timing. That time, the timing for Burgess and Narcisse was right on the mark.
Tom Burgess is 9 completions away from moving into 4th on the Riders' all-time list, ahead of Joe Paopao, who is here tonight as Edmonton's offensive coordinator. Now Burgess under pressure, moves ahead, and Burgess gets tripped up as he slides down to the 30-yard line. It's a pickup of 5 for Burgess, who might have got more if someone hadn't clipped his shoe.
Yeah, and Tom Burgess dropping back in the pocket that time was looking for his buddy out on the left side of the field in Don Narcisse, but great coverage by Darian Hagan made Burgess pull it down, try and get a few yards on his own.
Under 2 minutes to play now in the opening half, and Burgess has his team down to the Edmonton 30-yard line. Burgess has the game's only touchdown. He scored it on a 1-yard plunge in the first quarter. And now Burgess. Time gets it out for Larry Thompson, and Thompson stopped up at the Edmonton 25-yard line, which is right where the first down marker is. Darian Hagan makes the stop.
Yeah, I'm really impressed with Darian Hagan, the converted quarterback on the corner. He gets the out route by Thompson. Hey, that's not a big play to percentage, but you'd let him throw that out route in front of you and then come up and make the tackle. But this Darian Hagan has great closing speed. He's playing smart defense, and he's really showing his athletic ability.
And we've hardly mentioned Ray Elgaard's name in this first half. The Riders moving the ball well. Here comes Hood. Hood up the middle across the 20 and down to the 18-yard line. Singer Mobley makes the stop. Ray Elgaard has 1 catch so far in the football game after 7 last week. The CFL's all-time leader in catches and yards. 3-time outstanding Canadian and 6-time All-Canadian.
And believe me, before this game's over, he will be involved in the offense. You don't keep a guy with that much ability out of the offense, but right now they got a nice mix with running the ball and getting it to Narcisse.
2nd and 4 for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, threatening here late in the first half. Burgess to the end zone and incomplete, looking for Albert Turner. Mr. Touchdown for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, and that time Burgess sailed the ball over his head.
Well, you know, it's not Tom Burgess' fault. You know, when Albert Turner gets in the end zone, again, they put all the receivers to one side of the field. What I was going to say is, when Turner's in the end zone, they think they can just throw it anywhere in the area, and he's going to catch it with his touchdown percentage. But that time was just overthrown, and good late pressure by big Leroy Blue coming up and putting the hit on Tommy Burgess. And believe me, by the time the game is over, all those hits are really going to smart when it comes down to 4th quarter and Tom Burgess is back in the pocket. He'll be thinking of those.
Dave Ridgway missed from 55 earlier. This is from 25. And he wasn't about to miss that. Dave Ridgway with another field goal. And the Saskatchewan Roughriders have a 16-3 lead over the Edmonton Eskimos. And Ray Yach, we mentioned earlier, was a former Eskimo head coach, guided them to the Grey Cup back in 1975. Ray Yach has been the coach of the year twice in the Canadian Football League. Once in 1970 with the Edmonton Eskimos, and again in 1980 with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Ironically enough, Ray Yach was the coach of the Edmonton Eskimos the last time they missed the playoffs.
You know, Gordy's really mellowed. He used to be pretty hard in Winnipeg, but now he's a pretty mellow guy.
And you speak from experience. Under a minute to play in the first half. Bell brings the ball down, and now Kerwin Bell is running. Oh, he got smacked up at the 40-yard line. Bell didn't know where he was going, but Ron Getz sure knew where he was.
Well, I don't know if I can say this on TV, but it's one of those snot ticklers.
Oh, you can't say that. You cannot say that.
And Getz is a little shucking up. You know, Kerwin Bell's not small. He's a pretty big guy in himself, but he's coming backside pursuit and puts a nice hit on Bell, and then Jerson comes in to clean it up. But what I mean by snot ticklers, when you get hit so hard, it comes out of your nose and tickles your forehead.
You know, I just said you can't say that.
Okay, sorry.
And you said it again.
I won't say it anymore.
Poor Ron Getz. He's down on the field. He took the worst of that collision with the Edmonton Eskimo quarterback. And
the way he's holding his arm there, Gord, looks like he might have what we call a burner.
You can say that.
Okay. He's A burner is one of those things where you get a little bit of a pinched nerve in your neck, and your whole arm on that side of your body goes numb, and after a couple of minutes it sort of shakes off. But you know what? Ron Getz is not worried about the injury. He's just mad that he had to walk off the field.
And I know his mom is watching today in Waconia, Minnesota. He wanted us to make sure that we said hello to her. And you see Getz.
He's just mad that the quarterback stayed in and he came out. But it's a little burner. He'll be back.
It's that linebacker pride thing. Gain of 8 for Bell at 2nd and 2. And the handoff goes to Lucius Floyd, and the former Rider is up across the 45 to the 48. Good for an Edmonton first down. And with 35 seconds to go, the Eskimos a couple of first downs away from being in field goal range, but Lucius Floyd hasn't been much of a factor so far.
No, he hasn't, and that credit to the Saskatchewan defense, because they have put a lot of pressure and caused Edmonton and their quarterback to get out of their game plan. That is getting the ball in Floyd's hands.
Kerwin Bell firing it up there. He was looking for Shalon Baker, who makes the catch in front of Albert Brown. Brown saying no catch, but the referee says yes, and the ball is up to the Saskatchewan 48-yard line for a gain of 15.
Nice catch pulling it off the turf by Shalon Baker, and he really has become a go-to guy for the Edmonton Eskimos. You know, Joe Palpa said if Lucius is not working, we'll just go to the next read. Right now it's Shalon.
Here's Kerwin Bell. He gets nailed, and Bell is almost intercepted by Aaron Ruffin, but Kerwin Bell absolutely got drilled by Bobby Jurison.
As you know, it's a matter of time before we'd mention Mr. Jurison. 114 career sacks for Bobby Jurison. He's one of those guys that has the swim move down pat. He's at the bottom of your screen and cuts underneath and goes up the middle and gets involved in the play there. And actually a little bit of pressure by Ron Getz up the middle also helped that one.
Second down. Bell, here comes the pressure. Bell gets it away, but it's a one-hopper. And Kerwin Bell had all kinds of defensive pressure as Sean Brantley got up to his face, and so did Brian Randall.
Yeah, Brian Randall's playing that nickel position because of Dale Joseph being injured, and Randall just comes on the blitz. Saskatchewan right now is mixing things up. They're sending different people, sometimes Getz, sometimes Dan Rasovich. In that instance, it was the newcomer Brian Randall coming from his nickel position.
This would be a field goal try of 55 yards for Sean Fleming. It would be into the wind, and so Glenn Harper is over to punt for the Edmonton Eskimos, but now we've got a timeout called by the Saskatchewan Roughriders. So Lancaster not taking any chances here in the dying seconds of the opening half, but the Saskatchewan Roughriders in the 90s have been phenomenal with the lead. When the Riders lead at the half in this decade, they're 33.
Get it out, get it out.
Hear Ray Yock saying, get it out, don't give up the single. They're 33-5 in the last 6 years when they lead at the half.
Yeah, it's a nice stat, especially when you're playing in front of these Taylor Field crowd. You want to make sure you come up with more wins than you do losses, that's for sure.
Glenn Harper into the wind. It's a low driving kick. Aaron Ruffin has it bounced to him at the 5. Got by Jed Roberts. And still going, Aaron Ruffin gets up to about the 17-yard line. Michael Souls got in to make the tackle. It's the final play of the opening half. And the Saskatchewan Roughriders, after being booed off the field in the first half last week, get a standing ovation this week. They lead the Edmonton Eskimos 16-9. Stand by now for our McDonald's halftime show.
McDonald's Halftime, presented by your local McDonald's restaurant. Here's Darren Detition.
Welcome to McDonald's Halftime. As we have mentioned throughout the show, the Lions are in Memphis for the Mad Dogs home opener. And while we perceive them as a first-year team, Dave Sapunjas of the Stamp says, forget it, saying that Memphis is not an expansion team. They're an expansion city. They do have a lot of CFL experience led by Damon Allen. And Damon Allen has connected with Eddie Brown, who's gone downtown. It's now 21-11 in the third quarter. We were wondering what McManus would be like as a starter. Well, he's got a couple more touchdowns tonight. They are now a horse with a name, as Baltimore finally decided to forego its anonymity and pick up a moniker. They will be forever known as the Stallions. Now, there is an NFL tie-in. No, it's not another lawsuit. A group in St. Louis wanted to use the name Stallions for an NFL expansion team, but when the Rams came to town, the name was no longer needed, so Baltimore has decided to run with it in the Canadian Football League. On to the Birmingham club, the Barracudas, and after winning their first ever CFL regular season game without Matt Dunigan, optimism abounds. So much so, it looks as though they're going to start Jim Klingler against the Tabbies tomorrow in Hamilton. Donnie is still not 100%, but you get the feeling that he could come into the game if needed. Klingler was 6 of 16 for 165 yards and a touchdown in the win over Winnipeg. Ivor Wynn should be jumping tomorrow night. Anthony Cavillo and company look to make it 2 straight. And while a lot of the talk is centered on Dunigan and the Barracudas' offense, it's the defense that has Hamilton's attention.
They had 5 turnovers there in the first half. You know, they had 2 touchdowns on interceptions, recovered 3 fumbles. So you can't turn the ball over and win ball games. And we've got to make sure that we protect the football and make good decisions when we're throwing the football. And you know, just do what we have to do to win ball games, and that's what you have to do.
You got those 4 D linemen rushing the way they did against Winnipeg, and then putting pressure on the quarterback. It makes it hard for the quarterback to adjust, because then they could drop 8 more guys.
I think, you know, they do have a defense that can run. They've got some guys that have played in the CFL, Junior Thurman, John Moten, and those guys are all good players and draw horns. So I think that we'll have some wrinkles for them, but we've got to play very good. And then, you know, the old story, the team that makes the least amount of mistakes is going to win.
Now tomorrow, the CFL on TSN will take us to Shreveport as the league's most outstanding player. Doug Flutie and the Calgary Stampeders come knocking. We know what Flutie can do. You know, I'm real curious to watch Billy Joe Tolliver play. That game will start at 8 o'clock Eastern everywhere but Ontario. In Baltimore, the Texans come calling, looking for their 2nd straight win. We will take a short break, but McDonald's halftime will continue in just a few moments. Stay tuned. Welcome back to McDonald's halftime. It was one of the greatest moments in the history of the Saskatchewan Roughriders. 1989 at the Skydome. Time running out in the clock, and the Grey kept on the line. Glenn Suter held the ball, and Dave Ridgway kicked. The end result was a Saskatchewan win and an unbreakable bond between the 2 men.
It's up.
Dave, that was quite a memory. You know, out of all the playoffs and the Grey Cup game, I think when that ball went through the uprights, that flood of emotion was the whole Grey Cup.
I think that it wasn't expected.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we were going into Edmonton the week before, and they're 16-2, and we weren't even supposed to be in that game with them. So to get there and to beat the Ticats, you know, they'd beaten us twice that year. It was, yeah, there's no doubt about it. It was the most exciting thing I've ever done, you know, put my clothes on.
We had a lot of memories, actually, right here on this field. I remember the 60-yard field goal.
Into the wind.
I thought the wind was at our back.
Well, no, I've been telling people for years now that we were kicking it into the wind.
I really remember the wind at our back, but that was...
Well, you tell it your way. I'll tell it mine. That was a nice one, too. You know, I really didn't... I didn't spend any time looking at it. You know how it was. We used to just run on the field, and all of a sudden when I put the tee down, I looked up there, and there's the C line. The 55-yard line was up ahead, and I'm thinking, wait a minute, this is kind of long.
And we made that kick by all of about, what, 4 inches?
Shush, we made that one a long way. Okay, we can change that. The wind was at our back, so we made it a long way.
That was great. I guess all these memories are going to be in your new book. You're writing a book.
Yeah, it's done. It's actually at the press right now, and I wrote it with a guy out of Calgary by the name of David Polson, and it worked out really, you know, so much fun to do, and I guess the thing was I was able to reflect on a lot of the things that we did together, a lot of the teammates that we played with during the course of our careers, and you know, it's something for the fans. The fans only get to hear what the media says about us. They don't know that we, you know, sort of goof around a little behind the scenes.
So you're saying there's some of our practical jokes are in there?
Remember the Polly Aldag thing on the plane?
Yeah.
Okay, I put that one in there. Here's, for you people that are on TV land, here's what happened. We're taxiing out of Toronto, And crib is the game of choice on return flights. And we used to sit, I was by the bulkhead. It was Glenn, Bob Poley, and across the aisle was Roger Aldag, the all-time Rough Rider great. And tell them what you did.
Well, what we did is they played crib every road trip, so I just snuck the cards.
No, not we.
Okay, I took the cards, and when they weren't looking, I took all the 5s out of the deck.
Now, I'm not a crib player, but I do understand that the 5s are fairly important in crib.
Gave them the deck back.
And for 3 hours, all the way from Toronto to Regina, they played crib for the whole trip.
And
with that same deck.
And to this day, I still hear about it. They are not happy about that.
All we heard for the whole trip was, geez, I can't buy it. God, what a terrible deal this one is.
Can't wait to see the book. Thanks a lot for talking with us, and good luck.
What's with the media? I can't be seen out here with you as a media guy anymore, so can I have a TSN shirt?
You know, I think that I'll get you, of course you can have it, anything you want, buddy.
I don't even have a TSN shirt. Saskatchewan giving it to the Eskimos, 16-3. Great crowd at Taylor Field. Always is when the Eskies are there. We'll take a short break. Back with more in moments.
Ed McQuarters was a member of the '66 Grey Cup champions, and the next year was named the CFL's top lineman. A 3-time Western All-Star, he lost an eye in a workshop accident in 1971, but returned that same year to resume his career. One of the all-time greats, Ed McQuarters. You can see more on McQuarters and other legends at the Canadian Football Hall of Fame in Hamilton. McDonald's Halftime, brought to you by your local McDonald's restaurant.
McDonald's halftime continues. Let's check in on our game story, and it's been an unusual affair thus far. We knew Saskatchewan had to come up with a big game. Tom Burgess doing the job. 103 yards, 2 interceptions. They haven't really hurt him as of yet. The Eskimos with only 5 yards rushing. That's not a typo. Turnovers. 3 for the Eskies, 2 for Saskatchewan. Let's go back to Gordon, Glenn. Gentlemen, your thoughts on the first half.
Well, Darren, a couple things come to mind. Both these teams surprised their fans last week. Edmonton with a big win and Saskatchewan with a big loss. We talked about the running game for both teams, and both have been surprising.
That's right. Edmonton wants to get the ball in Lucius Floyd's hands, and because of the mixed coverages of Saskatchewan's defense, they haven't been able to do that. On the other side of the field, John Hood has been very involved for Saskatchewan, something that they wanted to have happen early and has.
Well, the Edmonton Eskimos felt they might have a hard time running the ball against Saskatchewan. That has been the case. It has been tough sledding so far for the Edmonton Eskimos. We'll see how they come back in the second half against this tough Saskatchewan D. Darren?
Thanks very much, gentlemen. That'll do it for McDonald's halftime. Up next, we've got the third quarter. The Saskatchewan Roughriders 16, the Eskimos 3.
A couple of numbers stand out from the first 30 minutes of play. For one thing, the Edmonton Eskimos ran the ball for just 5 yards in the opening half. They, in fact, had negative yards after the opening quarter. And time of possession, 19 minutes for Saskatchewan, just 10 for the Edmonton Eskimos. And with lightning flashing around Taylor Field, we're set for the second half kickoff. Henry Williams and Darian Hagan are back deep. And this is the gizmo from the 25. Right into Terrell Ulmer. He stops him for a return of 6, a 50-yard kickoff, and Ulmer keeps the gizmo to just 6. And the numbers through the opening half for the quarterbacks. Tom Burgess has a couple of interceptions, but his team has played so much better.
That's right, and it's probably because they're mixing up the run with the pass. John Hood's been involved early in the game, and that opens things up for Tom Burgess and his receivers. And it's a little misleading when you see the 2 interceptions, because the first one went right through Elgard's hands and into Larry Ruck's, but good job by Burgess.
The Eskimos 1st and 10 from their 30. The handoff to Lucius Floyd, and not much doing there. Glenn Kulka, the former Edmonton Eskimo, stands him up, and you can hear the crowd oohing and awing here at Taylor Field. There's an unintentional light show going on here as lightning is all around Taylor Field. We've heard thunderclaps in the area, and you can see the sheet lightning flashing around here. And yes, that's the one thing that can stop a football game, is lightning. Play continues now. 2nd and 10. The pass out there intended for Lucius Floyd is complete up around the 38-yard line. A gain of 8. He'll be 2 yards short of an Edmonton first down.
Yeah, and you know that they went into the huddle, Edmonton did, and said, listen, we got to get the ball in Lucius's hands, and we got to get involved in the pass patterns because Saskatchewan is running so much man-to-man defense. We're getting Floyd on Ron Getz. Now, mind you, he made the play on that deep corner out early in the game, but let's keep working on it. We feel like we can get the ball in Floyd's hands and make things happen on a linebacker.
And Glenn Harper is now back to punt for Edmonton. And it's a fake. It looked to be a fake as they gave it straight to Michael Souls. Souls walked up right behind center Blake Dermott, just tapped him and took the snap like a quarterback. And it appears he has the first down on the fake punt for Edmonton. We saw a fake field goal try fail earlier.
Yeah, Souls is the guy responsible for making sure everyone's lined up, and he comes up and pretends like he's just talking about the lineup, gives center Rucken up the little tap on the side and takes the ball up for the first down.
And so the Eskimos are up at their own 41-yard line and trailing by 13 points early in the third quarter. Now from the shotgun, here's Bell. Lots of time. Bell delivers, and it is incomplete to Jim Sandusky, who had 2 tries at it. The first time on the throw, the second time on the deflection. They both fall incomplete. Albert Brown there on the coverage.
It really was a nice throw by Kerwin Bell. Sandusky's a veteran. He's running the patterns. He tries to lull Albert Brown to sleep with that little bit of a lazy in move and then break to the out, but Albert Brown breaks underneath, gets his hands on it, pops up in the air, and it's a good job. Watch Jerson coming in on the pressure and a little late push on Kerwin Bell. He doesn't want to get a penalty in that instant.
Jim Sandusky has just 1 catch in the football game, and he fumbled at the end of it. 2nd and 10. Bell. Lots of time. Throwing deep, and it is incomplete as he was looking there for C.J. Davis. Aaron Ruffin and Dave Van Bellingham were back there on the double coverage, and now it's 3rd and 10, and Glenn Harper comes back into the game.
And again, Saskatchewan continuing to run the pressure. You see 22 to the top of your screen there coming in from the right. That's nickelback Brian Randall, and they're sending everybody in. Here comes the rain, Gord.
Here comes the rain, and I'll tell you what, I just saw a fork of lightning strike what looked to be about 3 blocks from here. This time, Harper kicks it away. Not a very good kick. In fact, it's out right around midfield. Not much of a punt at all for the Edmonton Eskimos, so Saskatchewan will have excellent field position as the rain is falling.
CFL Live, brought to you in part by The Keg, where good friends get together to enjoy great steaks and share some fun.
Yeah, you have to be of the feathered variety to enjoy this. It is absolutely pouring rain here at Taylor Field. There's lightning in the area. The referees have been talking to both Ron Lancaster and Ray Yawk on the sidelines. And I know they're all keeping a close eye on the lightning in the area, but it is absolutely pouring rain here in Regina.
We talked about the running games early and often, and hey, in this kind of weather, it becomes that much more important to get that running game going.
Look at Ronnie laughing, huh? He knew this was coming. I talked to him before the game, and he'd had a good long debrief from the Regina Weather Office. Here's John Hood, bounces off the first tackle, but look who's collared him up this time. Willie Pless has another tackle for the Edmonton Eskimos. All this comes after a 17-yard punt by Glenn Harper.
6 tackles for Willie Pless in last week's game against the Argos, and he's the leading tackler on that team. And like I said, it's tough to run against this Edmonton defense.
Yeah, I hear that too. Those guys' makeup is going to run. I'll tell you what, I've been in some rainstorms, but I've never seen it like this in Regina. Here's Burgess over the middle, and decked is Larry Thompson. Glenn Rogers Jr. hammered him, and no catch as he was absolutely nailed.
Yeah, well, I won't say it again. I have another term for the big hit, this time by Glenn Rogers Jr., called a D-cleater. That's what happens when you get hit so hard. Your cleats go straight up in the air, and that's what happens right there by Glenn Rogers Jr. on Larry Thompson. But, hey, give Thompson credit. He jumped up after that one, went back to the huddle, but a nice shot by Glenn Rogers Jr.
Brent Manage punts for just the second time in the football game. And we have a storm of Gilligan's Island proportions here. And Manage with a low driving kick. Bounces to the Gizmo at the 20. Here comes Henry Williams looking for a block. He gets by the last man, and now he's looping back. Gizmo gets outside, and he is out of bounds at the 35-yard line. As flying back was Joey Yock to save a touchdown. It's a 57-yard return for the man who has taken 23 to the end zone in his career and had 17 more called back by penalties.
The 17 called back by penalties is more than any other punt returner in the history of the game has scored in touchdowns. This guy's instant field position, breaks it to the outside, and Joey Yock just trying to hang on there and get him out of bounds, but Gizmo just runs out of field or he's in the end zone.
You know what? I did the sidelines in the CFL for 5 years. I move up to the booth and it's rained both games. I love this. It's great up here. No wonder John Wells likes it so much. First down from the 33. Over the middle they go, and it is incomplete. Looking for Shalon Baker. He was double covered. And every time you see a receiver head downfield, you can hear the thunder rumbling in the background. And I think it's Benson Donaldson who was down for the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
Yeah, collision there by, it looks like it might be Albert Brown.
You're right, it is.
Yeah, Albert Brown and Dave Van Bellingham. Van Bellingham was trying to cut underneath to give his corner some help on the play, and the big collision by Brown. But Vargas just looking down the middle for Shalom Baker, and actually Van Bellingham cut underneath, and the ball kind of floated up over. And Bellingham, of course, he's looking right at the ball and doesn't see Albert Brown coming. He's trying to give his corner some help and gets a collision. He probably has, looks like he might have the wind knocked out of him there.
And you mentioned a moment ago, we have a new quarterback in the football game for the Edmonton Eskimos, 24-year-old Chris Vargas. He came into the game last week against Toronto. He was 2 for 2 for 18 yards. Of note for Vargas, he's had 5 drives this season. 1 in the regular season, 4 in the preseason. The Edmonton Eskimos have scored every time he's been in there. And I'll tell you what, this is some kind of storm that's going on around us. As Albert Brown gets up, you can see how hard the rain is falling. But it's scrambled the scoreboard here at Taylor Field. Yeah, how much time is left? Now the lights will be next here, and the electrical system at Taylor Field is basically baling wire and paper clips to begin with. It doesn't take much to knock the lights out, and we can hear static and all kinds of things going on. You just saw a flash of the lightning there. It is some kind of storm here in southern Saskatchewan. Now Vargas on second down. He guns it out to the sideline. Lucius Floyd couldn't make the catch. He was out of bounds anyway. And Gary Rogers.
Welcome back to CFL Control. I'm Darren DeTish. Obviously, we're having a few technical problems at this present time. There is a huge storm in Taylor Field. As soon as they get back to the action, we'll get back to the action. Larry Smith, the commissioner of the Canadian Football League. Yesterday we heard from him talking about the state of the game. He continues those thoughts.
The key in the future, of course, is just having more television. In Canada, we are increased our distribution to approximately 75 to 80 games this year, which represents about 70% of our total schedule. Putting that in simple numbers is an increase of almost 15% over the last 2 to 3 years. And so our objective is to increase distribution so it's in the consumer's face so that they can identify with the players. Well, I think one of the realities of today's world versus the 60s and 70s is that there's more player movement. The CFL has been the only league with total unrestricted free agency. And of course, people have criticized that, but we still, even through statistical comparison, can prove to you that the longevity of players on our teams is as long as the National Football League, or maybe even a bit better. And they've only started to sort of loosen the reins on free agency in the last few years. We can draw the analogy, and when we went into Las Vegas, we didn't know what we were doing. We didn't understand the market, and we got burned. Could the same thing happen if the National Football League comes into a market like Toronto, which maybe, they need to do some more research on? It's a very interesting issue. I think we're going to survive no matter what. We're fighting hard. We don't concede anything about Toronto because we still believe that we can succeed in this market and let the chips fall where they may. I would think that we're a lot further ahead in 1995 than we were in 1992, so far, so good. We made some mistakes along the way, but, if you're going to change and grow and go into the unknown, I mean, we've gone into the unknown where a lot of Canadian corporations have failed in the United States, and, we have not proven yet we will be ultimately successful in expanding into the United States. And there's a graveyard for Canadian corporations that have tried, but the good news is that we're still alive, we're still kicking, we're still expanding, and it's 3 years after we even said we would expand, so that we are making some progress. To stay status quo and just be a Canadian entity had no future for this league, and I don't think any of us would prefer to be a dinosaur and sort of say what happens to dinosaurs. I think we'd rather, if we're going to fail as a league, we will fail fighting, we will fail being very proud of who we are, and what we're trying to achieve. We will not fail because we didn't try.
Having technical problems out at Taylor Field. As soon as the football game resumes, we will get it back for you folks. Meanwhile, Memphis, the Dogs were starting to bark. Wouldn't you know it, though, BC bounces right back. Interesting scenario heading into this game. It was the Mad Dogs' first ever regular season contest at home. Obviously, they want to get off to a good start in front of the hometown fans. Now, they had a crowd of about 17,000, but it was the Lions who tallied first. Corey Philpott with a 3-yard run. That would make it 7-1. That was his 4th touchdown of the year. He's putting up MVP-type numbers. The second time in 20 years, Louis Bisaglia missed a convert. It's only happened twice in 20-some-odd years. He went into this contest 21 points back of 3,000. McManus, by the way, went to Stefan Panasek. That made it 14-1. He's hit Flutie for another. Damon Allen bounced back. Corey Philpott's got another touchdown run. His 5th of the year. The Toronto Blue Jays taking on Oakland. It is now 2-1 in the 5th inning of play. Mark McGuire with his 24th home run of the season. By the way, the Jays have lost 5 of 6. The Montreal Expos in action tonight taking on Colorado. Gil Aridia started the game. He was 3-4 in the year. He's getting kicked. It's now 12-1 for the Rockies, and it's the former Spos who are giving him the business. Larry Walker and Galarraga have both homered in this game. Montreal has dropped 2 straight. They went into this contest 8.5 back of Atlanta. Can you believe this? Taylor Field, it is completely dark. They have lost all the power. The lights have gone out. As soon as it is possible, we will take you back to the football game. That's if it resumes tonight. We're going to take a short break. Stay tuned. The CFL on TSN continues in just a few moments. Welcome back to CFL Control. It is a bizarre situation in Taylor Field as the lights have gone out. I thought this sort of stuff was only reserved for Boston Garden. Gord Miller is standing by. And Gord, exactly what is the scenario there? As we can see, it's pretty dark.
Well, it is dark here. The lights are out at Taylor Field. The players have gone to the dressing room with 10:50 to play in the 3rd quarter. There was a lightning strike in the area, and the lights went off here at Taylor Field. There's no power anywhere in the stadium. Now, what's interesting is there is power in the neighboring community. I just talked to Gord Johnson, the supervisor of officials for the Canadian Football League, who's here tonight in a supervisory capacity. They'll talk to both general managers, Hugh Campbell and Al Ford. The emphasis is on getting the game in tonight, if at all possible. Now, there's 2 factors, of course. One is getting the lights back on, and the other is making sure that there isn't too much lightning in the area. Just after the lights went out here, Darren, there was a lightning strike within a half a block here of the stadium. It happened just on the other side of it as we're looking. And now we can see at Taylor Field that a couple of lights are coming on, but we're at least a half an hour away from getting this game started if they can get it done tonight. The second alternative is to do what they did in the Grey Cup in 1962, and that is to play the game tomorrow. They would pick up the play exactly where the ball was, the same down and distance with 10:50 to go in the third quarter, and simply end it tomorrow. But the Edmonton Eskimos are scheduled to charter out tonight, and so obviously what they'd like to do is try to get this in tonight.
And so would we. As it stands right now, our cameras are out down at Taylor Field. We are talking to Gord via telephone. As you saw, it was a static shot. So now I guess we're basically in a holding pattern.
Well, we are, Darren, and I think it's interesting to note that there's a couple of factors here, not the least of which is safety for the football players. The one condition under which a game will be stopped, other than some kind of natural disaster, is lightning in the area. It's dangerous for the players, but it's also dangerous for the coaching staffs, who of course are wearing headsets that are wired up through the ground. And if lightning strikes the ground anywhere near, it can be very dangerous for the coaches involved as well. So safety, of course, is the primary concern. It's funny that you mentioned the Boston Garden, because I was there for one of those power outages, and I was at the last CFL game in which the power went out, and that was here at Taylor Field a couple of years ago in a game against Hamilton. Ron Lancaster remarked to me at that time that the motto of his university, Wittenberg College in Ohio, was, having light, we pass it on to others. Well, no one has light right now, so it's next to impossible to pass it on to anyone.
You know what? The Rugby World Cup was affected by the same scenario. They were worried about the lightning, specifically about the fans themselves. What are they saying about the fans sitting in the seats? And I hear that emergency power has possibly come back to certain parts of the football stadium.
Emergency power is on here, Darren. It just came on a second ago. The PA system here at Taylor Field isn't working. Obviously, that's part of the electrical system in the stadium, so there's no way for the people here at Taylor Field to advise fans on what to do. Security has cleared the field, and now security guards are walking up and down the aisles and encouraging people to get away from metal railings, metal seat posts, anything that could conduct electricity. And so they are taking precautions to help the fans here. This is a really interesting situation if this game can't be played tonight, not the least of which for me is that I'm supposed to be at a wedding tomorrow. But of course, what do they do about the fans? A lot of Saskatchewan Roughrider fans, as you know, Darren, come from a long way away to come to these football games. I mean, they've got some 1,000 season ticket holders in Saskatoon who drive down, so there could be a premium on hotel rooms tonight here in Regina.
You know what? It's always a very hearty crowd there, and you get the feeling that if there is one particular place in the Canadian Football League that might not mind it that much, it's generally Taylor Field, because there usually is a party atmosphere. Have they given you any indication since we've started talking as to what's going to transpire, when they're going to try and get the lights going again?
Well, the lights are starting to come on here at Taylor Field, and what's strange about it, there's a guy on the field right now running around, and the security guards are having to chase him down. There's a couple of extra factors here. In addition to the lightning, Darren, we've had an unprecedented rainstorm here at Taylor Field. This guy's still running around. The security guards can't get him because they keep slipping in the rain, but now they've got him. There's a good 4 inches of water on the field. It's going to be very hard to play on this field. The lights seem to be coming on bit by bit. I'm looking across to the east side of the stadium, and about half the lights are on in the two end standards and in the middle standards. There's none on the near side, and power has yet to be restored to the press box area. So now the lights are coming on somewhat, and I think what they'll try to do is wait as long as they possibly can. Gord Johnson indicated to me that if they could get things going by 11 o'clock, they'd try it. Now the scoreboard clock is up and working, and the lights on the near side have started to come on. So we may be 10 to 15 minutes away from starting. We have now got video back on our monitors here, and so the power is back in the press box.
You know what? We don't have it here yet in Toronto as it stands.
This is just our monitors that work in the press box. Our cameras aren't up and operating yet, and as you can appreciate, the mobile truck that's here uses up a lot of electricity, and so it'll be the last thing that'll be powered up here at Taylor Field, because I'll tell you something, our mobile can knock Taylor Field off the grid on a nice night, never mind with lightning. So,
and from what we're hearing too, Gord, is now that we're down to a time frame of about 40 minutes in which they have to decide, well, what are we going to do? Are we going to continue to try and play the game tonight, or else they're going to have to cancel it for this evening and then resume tomorrow?
Well, that's interesting. I mean, and of course, the infamous Fog Bowl Grey Cup game is the best example of that happening. It's happened occasionally in the National Hockey League where you see games delayed or postponed, but
what you very rarely see is a game resumed in mid-stride. I mean, you're in a situation here where the Saskatchewan Roughriders really had the Edmonton Eskimos in a hole, had a great deal of momentum. What if they did start the game tomorrow? There's all kinds of interesting possibilities. I mean, Edmonton would have all night to look at film of the game and figure out what went wrong for them. And obviously also for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, I mean, they've got to travel next week, so this would make what's already a short week even shorter. They fly next week to Memphis. They're leaving Thursday, so if they had to play tomorrow, they'd meet Sunday, and they would then only have 3 days of practice instead of 4 to get ready for the game.
But their scenario sounds a lot more favorable than the Edmonton Eskimos. You mentioned that they have a charter that will fly out tomorrow. The pressure's on both teams to get this thing underway. Hopefully we'll have some sort of announcement relatively soon. I know we keep going back to that, but I mean, that's what we're in a holding pattern as well.
We've got the Saskatchewan Roughriders here and some of their officials here, and I'm just wondering, what's the latest? Okay, the Riders obviously are anxious to get the game in, and they're checking with the Canadian Football League. Now, the lights are back on completely at Taylor Field now. We can tell you that the lights are back on, and I believe our truck is up and getting powered again. And so we may be a few minutes away from getting the electricity back on, but still no sign of the players or the coaches. So, and I can tell you now, I don't know if you can see it there, but our cameras are back up and just starting to work now. So we may be able to get this back in, and understand that you can see video from Taylor Field.
Yes, we can.
And so you can see the amount of rain that has fallen in about a half an hour here in southern Saskatchewan. If you look down at the 10-yard line on the left, that's a puddle. That's about 3 inches.
That's a lake.
Exactly. I mean, you'd have to swim through that. The hash marks have little puddles in them, and midfield has a big puddle, and both end zones are
Well, Gord,
stopped.
you know what? We're going to take a short break. Taylor Field, never known for its drainage. Once again, a bizarre story out of Taylor Field. We're going to take a short commercial break. When we come back, the CFL on TSN will continue. We'll keep you monitored on the situation. Please stay tuned. Welcome back to CFL Control. There's a shot of Taylor Field in Regina, Saskatchewan. A few of the Hardy fans still sticking around, but they had a torrential downpour. There were lightning strikes around the area. We lost power at the 10:50 mark of the third quarter. We don't know if it was lightning that hit a transformer that took it out. We don't know if it was the rain that had accumulated and continues to accumulate. Now we are in a holding pattern. About 5 minutes ago, the Canadian Football League had said that they will wait for 40 minutes and they will decide at that time whether to do two things. The scenarios: one, to cancel the game itself, at least for the evening, and resume it again tomorrow. Or number two, try and wait it out like a long baseball rain delay, but there are no tarps to throw on the field. Gord, you would not want to be hanging out on the sidelines of this one, as you had mentioned before. Is there any update on what's going to take place?
Yes, there is, Darren. We just received it a second ago. The teams have been told they have 5 minutes to get back on the field. There will then be a 10-minute warm-up, at which time we understand that play will resume with 10:50 showing on the clock, and the Saskatchewan Roughriders leading it by a score of 16-3. So actually the official time left is 10:52, we now understand, and the Edmonton Eskimos trail this game by 13 points. So the teams will begin emerging from the dressing room. I can give you a weather update, Darren. The lightning has stopped, but it is still absolutely pouring rain here in Regina. And so the biggest concern, the lightning, seems to be out of the way. All the lights are on at Taylor Field on both sides. The field is fully lit, and actually, we talked about the drainage. It took a little while. They got some squeegees out in the field, and they've managed to take care of most of those lake-like areas. Lake Diefenbaker, we can say, has been cleaned up here. There's a couple left in the end zone, but actually the field looks to be in pretty good condition. A lot of fans have gone home, obviously fearing for their safety, and there are thousands more huddled underneath in the tight concourses here at Taylor Field. And so it's been an interesting return to this football game, and Glenn Suter, my broadcast partner, who has never been to the press box here before at Taylor Field. He played every game for Saskatchewan. He's never been up here before. Tell me something. What's this like for you?
Well, you know, when I was watching Dave Ridgway perfect so far, I was saying, hey, I don't like this when he's doing so well, but now I'm glad I made the decision. I'm up here and not down there getting soaking wet, but, you know, I saw this one time before. before. We were playing Hamilton 2 years ago. Same sort of thing happened. Then we went to Winnipeg the next week. The storm followed us. Same thing happened. So they'll get back on the field shortly.
And you see the young man there celebrating. This was not in the weather forecast today. I can tell you what, though, last night there was an amazing lightning and thunder display here in Regina. And now, as I look to downtown Regina, there's even more. And the diehards are here, and a lot of the fans are returning to the stands and getting ready as they get set for what they think will be the resumption of the ball game. And now they have announced to the crowd here at Taylor Field that the fans can return, and there's a lot of fans downstairs in the tunnels as well that lead up to the stands. The officials, led by Bud Steen, are getting ready to come back. And I can see that Coach Ron Lancaster is down in the tunnel as well. They've told him to get ready to bring his players out as well. This is really something, though, Darren. I can honestly say that there's been a number of times that you've seen bad weather at a football game, but I can't remember the last time that we saw a delay this long in a game that will be resumed. I can remember a game that we did in Winnipeg back in 1991 where it rained so hard that the stairs leading down were turning into a river, but they continued on to play that football game.
You know what, as far as I can remember as well, I can't remember them ever postponing a game, but that apparently seems to be the scenario. So we're going to take a short break from Taylor Field. We're going to wait it out, as will the fans, as will the players. They're coming back to the football field. We're expected to have a little warm-up, and then they will resume the game. Meanwhile, our own Lisa Bowes got a chance to sit down with All-Star Alan Pitts. We have their conversation.
Alan, in 1993, the Stampeders had an incredible record, 15-3, and yet lost in the Western Final to Edmonton. 1994, similar script, 15-3 during the regular season. Numerous team and league records, but again, losing right here in McMahon to BC in the Western Final. It's something to come back from that once, but twice? How is the team's psyche and / chemistry, I guess, for 1995?
You know, there's been a few changes in the off season, which at this point, you know, I really haven't been able to get a full handle on, you know, our approach as a team. You know, I believe those losses the last 2 years makes us a hungry team, wanting to get back to the Grey Cup, but with the change that we've had and the way we started out the last 2 seasons and how far along we are this season, you know, I think we might be a little bit behind. But I think coming off those 2 losses the last 2 years, I think it does make us a much more hungrier team.
What makes Alan Pitts hungrier this year? 3 league records you set last year. It was phenomenal how you came back from that knee injury. What's the motivation this time around?
Well, I think the motivation, most of the motivation comes from the unfortunate situation that happened earlier during training camp. I think that has just added strength and to myself, making me want to go out and you know, just be the player that I'm capable of being, because you know, I really feel that there's some people out there that want Alan Pitts to fail, and you know, I'm just here to say that, you know, people can portray or speculate about me whichever way they want, but you know, my real friends and the people that are close to me know what I'm about, and you know, that's what I'm here to let the truth be known about that.
You have signed a new deal. It's not the astronomical figures that we were hearing, 500 G's a season. You wish, I think. Yeah. But you did get a raise. Are you happy? Because I think for a time there, you really, you know, you wanted to be thought of as in the upper echelon, and you are, but you wanted to be paid in the upper echelon, if you will. Are you happy with what you've got?
Yeah, I'm pleased with the progress that was made during the off season. You know, I've enjoyed playing here in Calgary, enjoyed playing for the CFL. You know, in a way, I just feel that, you know, me taking, you know, a small step forward in financially is going to make things possible for other players, you know, coming along these next few years. And, you know, I hope to play a few more years myself and continue to get better, and hope I can take some more small steps. But I just think overall, you know, that makes it a little bit better for everybody.
Tomorrow, we take you to Shreveport. It is the Pirates and the Stampeders Hopefully there'll be no rain, no lightning. We will show you this game across the country, everywhere except for Ontario. They'll be getting the Jays and the A's, Game 2 of their doubleheader. We have now been delayed for approximately 25 minutes. You are looking live at Taylor Field. The rain has postponed the game thus far, but as soon as the players resume and the action, we will have it all for you. We're going to take another break. Stay tuned. The CFL on TSN continues. Welcome back to CFL Control. If you have just joined us, there is a delay between the Saskatchewan Roughriders and the Edmonton Eskimos due to a power outage at Taylor Field. We'll get there in just a few moments. Meanwhile, the Lions and the Dogs were doing battle tonight. It was Memphis's first ever regular season home game. It's now 28-13. Late in the fourth quarter, Danny McManus with a couple of touchdown passes. You know, he got off to a very, very good start last week, but didn't throw a TD. How about the play as well of Philpott, having a great game. Once again, Taylor Field is what we wait for, because as it stands right now, we continue to be delayed. They're trying to get the players back out onto the football field and get that game going. Gord and Glenn are standing by. And Gord, what's the latest update? How close are we?
Gord Johnson, the supervising officials, whose son Glenn is actually working down on the field tonight. Gord, what is the latest?
What we're going to do is we're getting the teams back onto the field. We're going to give them a 10-minute warm-up, and we'll pick the game up exactly where we left off in the third quarter.
Now, obviously, the emphasis for the Canadian Football League was to get the game in tonight with travel arrangements, hotels, and everything else.
That's correct. If at all possible, we want to get the game completed tonight. And if we get a bad weather situation again, we'll simply do the same thing.
How much of a factor is lightning in the area? It seems to be clearing off now, but if there's lightning strikes close, is that something that would stop the game again?
Absolutely. Any chance of any injury to the players or officials or fans, we would simply just get them off the field as quick as we can.
All right, thank you very much, Gord. We mentioned a moment ago that we had this situation here a couple years ago in a game against Hamilton. Ron Lancaster, we understand, is standing by downstairs getting ready to bring his football team on the field. And so, Gord Johnson, I got to ask you, when's the last time a game was interrupted then picked up the next day?
The last one I can remember is the 1962 Grey Cup, I believe. And they picked the game up the next day and continued and got a final score.
The Saskatchewan Roughriders are now returning to the football field. There's no sign of the Edmonton Eskimos. Were you in communication with both teams, and if so, what did they have to say?
I spoke to both general managers, Al Ford and Hugh Campbell, and they agreed that that's exactly what we would do. So with any luck, in about 10 minutes, we'll have the game underway.
How long would you have waited to get this going again?
Well, we would possibly wait, I suppose, 2 or 3 hours, because as you mentioned, we have to get the game finished today if at all possible.
Well, the teams are now warming up down on the field. The rain has let up somewhat. The field seems to be in good condition. Was the power blackout just here at Taylor Field, do you know, or was it in the area?
I saw some of the street lights go out initially, and about 2 or 3 minutes later, the power went out in Taylor Field, and unfortunately, that's been a situation that's happened before.
Now, you've mentioned that's happened here before, and I wonder if that's a concern of the Canadian Football League with the Grey Cup coming here in November.
I'm sure it's something that they've taken into consideration, and I'm sure some of the league officials will be down to check those sort of situations.
Well, we can see now that all the officials have come back. So have the Edmonton Eskimo players and the Saskatchewan Roughriders. So the players are going to go out for a little bit of a warm-up, and then we'll get things back underway with 10:50 to play in the third quarter and everything as it was down on the field. So the referees are back, the players are back, and some of the fans have even come back. This is a long delay on them. And we understand that standing by down on the field is the referee for tonight's game, Bud Steen. Bud, can you hear me? Bud Steen, are you down there?
Works anymore.
As you can imagine, we're having some electrical difficulties getting all the equipment back up and operating. And so as you see the teams warming up down here at Taylor Field, we can tell you that the teams will have a 10-minute warm-up period. And the teams are taking advantage of that opportunity to get down there and get their legs moving once again. And as I recall, the delay that was here back a couple of years ago, the game against Hamilton was about 15 minutes long. Glenn Suter is back up here with me now. And Glenn, how significant is a wait like that?
Well, I think it's very significant for the Edmonton Eskimos. You know, they were a little off balance in the game because of the blitzing Saskatchewan Roughrider defense. So this gives Ron Lancaster an opportunity to get him in the locker room, go over some of the problems they've been having, and then come back out with maybe a new game plan.
Okay, we understand that Bud Steen is downstairs now. Bud, can you hear me?
Well, we're going to try it again, Gord. Hello.
Yeah, Bud, what's the situation right now?
Well, there's about 8 minutes left now in the warm-up period that we're giving to the two clubs. They've been sitting for quite a while. They're fairly cold, and we'll be back at it. We believe that the worst of the weather is now past.
But how significant of a threat was the lightning?
Well, one of them went off right above the stadium, and I don't like it that close. Certainly, as I was standing there, I thought an awful lot about Neil Payne.
And what about Neil Payne?
This was his ball game.
Now, why are you working this game and not Neil?
Because Neil's not feeling well and is at home in Winnipeg tonight.
I think he may be feeling better now.
If he's watching the game, I'm sure he is.
Now, Bud, what are the mechanics of what happens when a game is postponed like this? What happened right after the lights went out?
After the lights went out, I took control. We can't play without lights. So I was in talking to both of the clubs, talking to the stadium personnel. Sask Power put in a feed to the stadium, and as things progressed, we just informed the teams, and eventually we got to the point where we could guarantee that we would have some lights to play with, and once the weather passed through, we decided it was time to get back at it.
Bud, thanks very much, and have a great rest of the game.
My pleasure. Thanks very much, Gord.
That's Bud Steen, tonight's referee, who will be back at work in a few moments along with the rest of the players. And Glenn Suter, you talked about momentum a moment ago. I'm sure Ron Lancaster had a few things to say to his players, but I wonder about a player's mindset. You don't know when and if the game's going to resume. This is a game of passion and intensity.
That's right. And defensive back coach Richie Hall from the Saskatchewan Roughriders came into our booth up here, and he says, we really want this game to continue, and we want it to continue tonight because they had the momentum.
All right, as you see, Chris Vargas, who was into the game for the Edmonton Eskimos, continuing to warm up. We bring in another sideline guest, and that is none other than a veteran coach and the sideline boss for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, Ray Yock. Ray, I know you've seen just about everything in the Canadian Football League. Does this mark a new one for you?
Well, it's just a little rain delay is all. This won't be too bad. I think we'll be ready to go. Edmonton will be ready to go, so we'll get the game done here.
How do you think this will affect your football team, which has been playing so well so far?
I don't think it's going to affect them at all. The way these guys are playing, we're going to play hard. That's all there is to it. There's no other way.
What did you say to your players in the dressing room, not knowing when and if the game was going to resume?
Well, if we go back out there, we're coming out to play. That's about all you can say, and they will.
Any concern that this might give the Eskimos a bit of a breather and a chance to regroup, because it really seems like you had them on their heels?
I don't know. You know, that's up to them. I can't control that. I know our guys are going to play hard just like they've been playing, and whatever happens, happens.
How much of a concern was the lightning for you, Ray?
Well, it's a little scary, no doubt about it. We had lightning strike out here a year ago and on the field, and it's a little scary. So it's good that we got off the field. The officials did the right thing.
Ray, thanks very much.
You're welcome.
Ray Yock, the head coach of the Saskatchewan Roughriders, he'll get set to go back to work, and you mentioned he said to his team just to get ready and to be sure that his team stayed intense for the rest of this football game. I got to ask you, Glenn, we've seen a couple of power outages in the stadium before. We asked Gord Johnson about it in terms of the Grey Cup game. This might be something they've got to look at.
That's right. They got to take a good look at it, make sure that they can control something like this and keep the game going, especially with this stadium being full and all the people that are going to be watching the Grey Cup. They got to take a look at it, and I'm sure they will by Grey Cup time.
Well, we've got our equipment back. The players have got their equipment on. That means only one thing. We're getting set for football. And as we do, let's send you back to our CFL control.
Hey, thanks very much, Gordon, Glenn. A few of the diehards hanging around. We hope you do as well, because in about 5 minutes' time, we will get back to the football game. It's well over been a half hour now that we've been delayed. Meanwhile, the Memphis game is now finished. The Dogs go down to defeat. They are now 0-2 on the season. The Lions off to a fine start. The defending Grey Cup champions are now 2-0. Danny McManus with a couple of touchdown passes. Corey Philpott, he ran in 2 TDs today. He now has 5 on the year. He's off to a fantastic start. Eddie Brown supplying most of the offense for Memphis with a 26-yard touchdown from Damon Allen. We will take another break. As we go back to Taylor Field, Gordon, Glenn are still standing by. Guys,
Yes, we are. And let's see, where were we? It's third down for the Edmonton Eskimos at the Saskatchewan 33-yard line. This is a Sean Fleming 39-yard or 40-yard field goal try. Okay. And Fleming puts it up and good. And in the first play after the extensive delay, the Edmonton Eskimos get their second field goal of the ball game and now trail by 10, 16-6. If you're just joining us, here's what's happened so far. Tom Burgess has been intercepted twice, but the Edmonton Eskimos have just 8 yards rushing in the football game. Edmonton has turned the ball over 3 times, all in the first half. And another big story for the Saskatchewan Roughriders has been the running of newcomer John Hood. He's got 53 yards already. Most of the scoring came in the opening half of the football game, and the only touchdown was scored by Tom Burgess on a 1-yard run. That was set up by a pass interference call in the Edmonton end zone. So the Saskatchewan Roughriders have a 10-point lead and the ball at their own 35-yard line. And here is John Hood again sliding ahead, but this time he's dropped on the play, tackled by David Bailey, number 90, who limits the gain to 3 yards.
And Saskatchewan going right back to that running game, coming out of the huddle. They're a little cold. It was interesting after the delay, Gord. We go right back to where the game ended, which was for just before the field goal attempt. Sean Fleming kicks it through. Credit to him. He had to stretch out and be ready to kick.
And Chris Vargas was the quarterback on that drive for the Edmonton Eskimos, taking over from Kerwin Bell. 1st and 10 now for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, and the pass goes out to Don Narcisse. Check that. That is number 86, Albert Turner. And the pass falls incomplete. And it'll bring up a 3rd down for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. So Tom Burgess will head to the Saskatchewan sideline. And what a bizarre situation for everyone involved. It just seems like we went into this sort of lull for a while. Now we're back playing.
Yeah, and you know, the key thing here is the team with momentum wants to regain it. That was Saskatchewan. Edmonton, on the other hand, is thinking, hey, this is a good chance for us to come back and catch a little momentum coming out of this break and this delay. And they sort of did with that field goal right off the bat.
Brent Matic is back to punt. Here comes the rush, and it's a low driving kick. Kicked away from Henry Williams, and it's a good one. It bounces out of bounds right at the 25-yard line. So the Saskatchewan Roughriders, who have been trying to keep it away from Williams all day, do a good job. A 47-yard punt and no return for the Edmonton Eskimos. There's the numbers for Kerwin Bell tonight. 11 of 24, 1 interception, 91 yards. But he is pulled in his for the first time as an Eskimo quarterback. And coming in is Chris Vargas, the 24-year-old from Nevada, Reno. That's the same school that Lucius Floyd attended. Floyd graduated a year before Chris Vargas got there.
And Edmonton has a lot of confidence in Chris Vargas. He has a good record this year. He gets the team in the end zone when he gets the ball in his hands, and I'm sure that's what they're hoping for on that sideline in this case.
1st and 10 from the 25. Vargas, he'll throw over the middle of Michael Soul. Gets away from Getz. Gary Rogers comes over to make the stop. He's up to the 35-yard line, very close to an Edmonton 1st down.
Right off the bat, Vargas does a good job of taking what Saskatchewan gave him in that instance, because he drops back and he sees his own defense, which he really hasn't seen all game, dumps the ball off and picks up what he can underneath the zone defense. So Chris Vargas is executing the game plan, and they have a lot of confidence in him.
And the man who made the tackle, Gary Rogers, is the injured Saskatchewan Roughrider as he receives some attention from the staff. About half the crowd has returned here to Taylor Field. A lot of them unsure of when this game might resume, had to get the head start on getting home. And for a lot of these fans, home is a long ways away.
That's right. A lot of people come from all over the province to get here to watch these football games, spend weekends here. So for a lot of them, it's going to be a long drive home.
On 2nd and short, Vargas just jumps straight ahead. He has a Edmonton 1st down as he gets across the 35-yard line.
You know, these injuries that Saskatchewan are having right now are going to affect the way they play defense, because when a guy like Gary Rogers comes out, he's a guy that they feel is one of those linebackers that can cover man-to-man. They replace him with Brooks Finley. Brooks Finley was a defensive lineman, and he cannot cover man-to-man, so that's the difference.
On first down, Vargas guns it over the middle and complete to C.J. Davis. And Davis is at the 45-yard line. That's a gain of 9 and a bit, and close to another Edmonton first down. Aaron Ruffin and Dave Van Bellingham make the tackle for Saskatchewan.
And Vargas is a very smart quarterback and sees that the Saskatchewan Roughriders have had to make some adjustments, and find the little zone right there in the middle and right over the middle and hits C.J. Davis.
And once again, just short of the first down, Chris Vargas jumps ahead on one of those lunges. He must have made it. It'll be another Edmonton Eskimo first down. They had only 4 at one point late in the first half.
The other thing is,
and we're seeing a little bit of a momentum change now. You got the Edmonton Eskimos starting to move the football. They come out right after the break, kick a field goal, get some points on the board, and then now they're starting to move. We get a little bit of a measurement here, and we'll see what happens here. But this is exactly what Ron Lancaster and Edmonton wanted with this delay. They went in there, they probably went over some game film in their locker room, and they came back out with a few adjustments and are executing them now.
And Vargas does have the first down. Aaron Brown remains out, or Albert Brown rather, remains out of the lineup. So Aaron Ruffin had moved over to the corner. Now Brian Randall is going to play there on the near side for Saskatchewan. So Albert Brown has a rib injury and may not return.
And that's another injury that hurts the Roughriders defense, because when Randall moves out to the corner, Albert Brown is out. That means you've got 3 real solid linebackers, like true linebackers playing in there that aren't man-to-man cover guys. And you have an inexperienced Errol Brown, backup free safety, trying to play that linebacker spot. And you can see right now Ron Getz in the middle of your screen trying to tell Errol Brown where he's got to line up, because he's not familiar with that spot.
And Getz still telling him, as you can see. Early movement, flags are down, the handoff to Lucius Floyd, not much doing as he gets up to about the 48-yard line. LeBrant Robinson comes up to make the stop.
And you know, Errol Brown, he's in there, and you know that from the other sideline, Ron Lancaster sees little Errol Brown playing in the middle as middle linebacker, and he's definitely going to try and run the ball when he sees that.
Offside. Saskatchewan 98. First down repeated. 5 to go.
LeBrant Robinson offside.
Yeah, and here's LeBrant Robinson right here. And he's going to come right up and jump offside and have to restart it again. 5 yards back.
And now here's Vargas gunning it for Michael Souls, and the big fullback rumbles into the defense, loses the ball. Dave Van Bellingham picked it up. Now they've lost it again, and the Eskimos have it back. Lucius Floyd. Michael Souls caught the pass. It was taken from him by Dave Van Bellingham. He lateraled it to Terrell Ulmer, who in turn fumbled it, and the Eskimos got it back. You got that?
I think you got it. I think you got it. Here it is here. The pass to Souls over the middle, got inside. Ron Getz on the play, and then a nice job by Errol Brown, the new middle linebacker, putting a little hit on him. And Van Bellingham, who's had a great start to the 95 season, strips the ball. Little pitch out over to Tyrell Ulmer.
Which might have been forward.
And then he gets stripped by his own guy in Ron Getz. And who's sitting right there with the football going, look at this, Lucius Floyd.
And after all that, there's an injured Saskatchewan Roughrider. It's Glenn Kulka who's down. I don't know. Now you give Souls gets the game. Van Bellingham gets a fumble recovery. Terrell Ulmer gets some kind of return on the lateral.
And a lost fumble.
Yeah, and a lost fumble. And Lucius Floyd gets a fumble recovery.
The stats guy's pencil is going to have to be resharpened after that play. And this injury by Glenn Kulka right now, this injury by Kulka is also going to hurt this defense. More juggling.
You got an import out. You can play. Right.
Now they've got a DI problem. They've got the designated import problem now.
Yeah, and Jim Daly, you just saw Jim Daly, the defensive coordinator, trying to sort things out for the referee. They got a DI problem. They got some substitution problems. They're going to let the referees know exactly who's lining up where, who the new designated import is, and get things straightened out.
And you saw Kulka injured at the end of that play. He's up and appears to be all right. The 10-year veteran in his first year. It's a net gain of 14 yards to the Edmonton Eskimos. By the way, Glenn Kulka, one of his many claims to fame is that he broke my collarbone when I was 13 in a hockey game.
Well, with those arms, it doesn't look like it'd be too hard to break any collarbone.
His arms are mine. First and 10 for the Eskimos from the 45 after all of that. Vargas guns it over the middle and almost has it picked off by Errol Brown, the new man out there. And he very nearly made the catch as he had a good hand in there on the intended receiver.
Yeah, and you know what? This is a situation where Errol Brown, as that linebacker, moves out, and he is allowed to protect his ground. That means if Errol Brown is going to make a jam and keep his shoulder square to the line of scrimmage, he can do it without being called for pass interference. It's when you go outside that area to make a grab is where you get the interference call. So that was not interference.
Second down. Vargas fires it over here to the near side for Nick Mazzoli. Mazzoli forced out of bounds at the 35-yard line. And he's close to another Edmonton first down, a gain of maybe 9.5.
And Lucius Floyd, great out of the backfield and great catching, but he can also block. Dan Rasevich coming on the blitz, and Lucius Floyd steps up and takes him, gives his quarterback time to throw, and a nice strike out there to Mazzoli on the sideline.
Now, Errol Brown checks out of the football game. Troy Alexander, number 46, comes back in on 3rd and a yard for the Edmonton Eskimos. Now, Vargas had trouble getting half a yard on the last short yardage situation. 3rd down. Vargas hands it off. Souls has it easily. Down close to the 30-yard line, Dave Van Bellingham on the stop.
Nice stop by Van Bellingham, but that's a good play call because you were right. Vargas did have trouble getting that first down because Saskatchewan clogged the middle. So what they decided to do is go with Big Michael Souls just off tackle to the bottom of your screen. If the middle's jammed up like you could see right there, just take it off tackle.
Did you see who threw the lead block there? Willie Pless, number 39, the linebacker, was out there on short yardage. First down, Edmonton at the Saskatchewan 30. Vargas, here comes the rush. Vargas gets it away and complete. Nick Mazzoli then dropped it. Nick Mazzoli had it in his hands and dropped it, and Bobby Jurison was about a quarter of a step away from Chris Vargas.
Yeah, you see Bobby Jurison coming off the corner one-on-one, a nice rip move, and that means when you get that big left hand ripped through Chris Morris's shoulder pads and gets a late pressure right there on Vargas, but he did throw a nice pass under pressure. It was just dropped by Mazzoli.
Second down for the Eskimos on this long drive. Vargas over the middle. This time it's complete to Mazzoli. First down inside the 20 at about the 17. Dave Van Bellingham makes the stop, but Vargas goes right back to Mazzoli, and this time he makes the catch.
Yeah, and you can see why they're so confident in Chris Vargas. But what happens here is due to injuries, Saskatchewan has changed their defense. They're playing more zone. Mazzoli's been in the league a long time. He finds the hole in the zone in between the linebackers and in front of Dave Van Bellingham, and Vargas finds him for the big completion.
Seems like this drive began last week. Now here's Vargas. Mazzoli's open again down at the 10-yard line. He's forced out of bounds by Vincent Donaldson. Just inside the 10, down to the 9 for a gain of 7. And it seems like Mazzoli and Vargas have worked together in practice a lot.
This really is a combination of two things. One, Edmonton has gotten the new quarterback in. They're starting to click, get a little momentum back. And the other thing is the injuries to Saskatchewan has caused them to go from their pressure man-to-man defense to a lot more softer zone coverage.
Second down, 3 yards to go. Vargas up to the sideline. Mazzoli makes the catch at the 5. It'll be an Edmonton first down. It happened right in front of Aaron Ruffin, and what a catch by Nick Mazzoli.
Great catch by Mazzoli. You know, he had 4 catches for 32 yards in their first game, but he was inches away for about a 150-yard gain on a couple of long ones, and he comes back to the ball, catches it, and the key thing there was keeping both feet in bounds, and that was great concentration by Nick Mazzoli on the sideline.
First and goal from the 5. Souls is the lone back in the backfield. Vargas back quickly, throwing to the end zone. Flags are down. Sandusky has the catch for a touchdown. And you saw Brian Randall. He thinks that's a penalty against Edmonton, and they might have run a little pick there.
Oh, yeah, well, Edmonton's offense, they're going to call that a rub. That's not a pick, because picks are illegal and rubs are not. But it looks like we'll get the call right here.
offensive forward pass interference. Edmonton, number 80, will be first down repeated.
Mazzoli running in front of Sandusky.
That's right. He just came over and obviously made the pick for him, and the refs caught it. That's one that they very seldom call because, like I say, offensives they'll go up to the ref early in the game and say, listen, we run these rubs, but they're not picks.
Now, first and goal from the 15. Vargas under pressure. Steps, gets it away, and incomplete. He was looking for Shalon Baker in the end zone. Vincent Donaldson there on the coverage.
They call him the hit man because sometimes he'll hit a guy so hard he'll knock himself out. But he plays some aggressive man-to-man coverage, getting right in the hip and staying with his receiver, even though he scrambled and bought some more time. Nice coverage by Vincent Donaldson, and Vargas, got to give him credit. He's getting some pressure on him. They're still trying to throw those strikes in there and getting the ball off.
16th play of the drive coming up. It's second and goal from the 15. Vargas waits, throws it out there, and incomplete. Not far enough. As C.J. Davis was out there, so was Jim Sandusky. Vargas got a double clutch to the field goal unit. Comes out for Edmonton.
Yeah, Vargas was trying to get the coverage on the play to get shaken because this is great coverage. He's just going to get a little bump here and trying to get Aaron Ruffin to bite on the ball and then try and get it out there in the flat. But I'll tell you what, that play was set up by great blanket coverage by the Saskatchewan secondary.
So Ron Lancaster has Sean Fleming and the field goal unit out there. Glenn Harper is the holder, and the attempt will come from the 22-yard line. Fleming puts it up and good, and since the rain delay, the Eskimos have outscored the Saskatchewan Roughriders 6-0, and the Saskatchewan lead, which was 13, is now down to 9. 16-9 is down to 7 rather. The score is 16-9. Stay tuned to the conclusion of today's game for the TSN Turning Point, brought to you by Royal LePage. From Louisiana tomorrow, in Shreveport to be exact, Doug Flutie and the Stampeders are in town, 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 Pacific. You know, the weather can be a little tricky down there at this time of year as well, but hopefully they'll get that one in and done without any interruptions like we had here. That last drive by the Edmonton Eskimos was something else. 16 plays. It chewed up 7:04 on the clock, and now Tom Burgess and company have a lead up 16-9. And the time of possession in this quarter, Edmonton has owned the football. Don't blame the Eskimos if they take them home. They've had them all game, at least all quarter.
Yeah, it really is a change because in the first half, the Saskatchewan Roughriders dominated the time of possession statistic. But right now, with that rain delay, it looks like it is definitely helping the Edmonton Eskimos.
Well, you knew whoever lost tonight was going to blame the rain delay, right?
Oh, yeah, and whoever won said, oh, the rain didn't really matter. We just came out and played better afterwards.
Like whoever missed the NHL playoffs this year was going to blame the lockout. And right away, the Saskatchewan Roughriders and Tom Burgess begin from the shotgun. We talked about the fact that Burgess might have been under some heat in this football game and that we might see Warren Jones early. We have yet to see him. 2:27 to play here in the third quarter.
And one of the concerns for this offense, too, is that since the delay and the time of possession lopsided difference for Edmonton, these guys are cold. They got to get out there right now and get some production out of their offense in this tight game.
First down from their own 35 after the Fleming field goal. And now Burgess guns it over the middle for Ray Elgard. Elgard right up to midfield with his second catch of the ball game. Larry Ruck makes the stop, but it's a gain of 20 for the CFL's all-time leading receiver.
Yeah, that's what you need to get the momentum back. Get big Ray Elgard to find the hole in the seam, right in the zone, right in between Ruck and Pless, and in front of Trent Brown. He finds the seam. Burgess finds him. Big gain for Ray Elgard. And, you know, every time he catches a pass, he's breaking another record.
Elgard's first catch was about 3 hours ago. Here's Burgess under pressure. Now scrambling away, back up the middle, and Burgess gets upended as diving under him was Willie Pless. And Tom Burgess is lucky he's up so quickly because Pless had him lined up.
You know, credit to Burgess. You know, he's a lot of quarterbacks in this instance when they see the Terminator Willie Pless coming at him will slide feet first to avoid the hit, but Burgess, he's under a little pressure now, wants to make things happen. Easier to come up there and get as many yards as he can, and takes a hit from Pless.
Now on 2nd down and 5. Here's Burgess. Out to the sideline, and that's knocked away by the rookie corner, Darian Hagan. And Hagan, a quarterback who led Colorado to the national championship in 1990, makes a great defensive play for Edmonton.
And how about this stat from this Darian Hagan? And I've been so impressed with him as corner coming over as a quarterback, but how about this stat? He was drafted by the Toronto Blue Jays in 1990 as a shortstop. He's an all-around athlete. This guy, that really was not Tom Burgess' fault. When the ball's taking a little longer to get out there, Larry Thompson really has to come back to the ball. Darian Hagan beat him to it and got the knockdown.
Here's Brenton Matic with the punt, bouncing down, and this time the Gizmo will get a return. Up to 15, the 20, and out of bounds there, forced out of bounds by number 87, Joey Yock. So finally, the Gizmo got a chance to return one.
Such a low center of gravity for Gizmo Williams. He gets hit and bounces off so many tackles and has for so many big returns in his career.
And Chris Vargas brings the Edmonton Eskimos back out as they now trail this game by just a touchdown with under 50 seconds to play in the 3rd quarter. And the flags are limp here at Taylor Field, so after that apocalyptic storm, we now have no rain, clear skies, and no wind. Mother Nature got it all out of her system in about 20 minutes. Vargas hands it off to Michael Souls. Not much doing there. Souls got maybe one as he was tripped up by Sean Brantley, and Sean Brantley was the only guy smiling after the game last week against the Hamilton Tiger Cats because he proposed to his girlfriend during the game.
Yeah, what he did is he got the announcer, the PA announcer here in Taylor Field, to make the proposal over the PA system, and he got Gaynor the Gopher to hand his girl the ring. And it's great because Wendy said yes. If Wendy didn't say yes, it could have been a little embarrassing for him.
Gopher gets stiffed. 2nd and 9. Vargas looking over the middle, almost intercepted as Aaron Ruffin was there on the coverage, and he almost had the interception as they were looking for Lucius Floyd. That's the final play of a very long 3rd quarter for a couple of reasons. We'll be back with the 4th, but right now, let's send you to CFL control.
Hey, thanks very much, Gord. Let's take a look at a few highlights. Of course, the Memphis Mad Dogs were playing their regular season home opener tonight. First ever game down in Memphis for them, but it was the BC Lions who come out swinging. McManus would hit Patasic. That made it 14-1. Damon Allen picked off. Former Edmonton Eskimo Enos Jackson will make the grab. McManus a little later on would air it out to Darren Flutie. Great catch in the corner of the end zone. That'll make it 28-11. The Dogs trying to bark their way back into this game with a little bite. Here's one of the few plays that worked. Allen to Eddie Brown. It is that former Edmonton Eskimo connection. He would dive in 28-13. Corey Philpott off to a great start this season. He would record his 5th touchdown of the season. He'll bangs his way into the end zone. 31-13, the Lions improved to the perfect 2-0. The Memphis Mad Dogs now fall to 0-2 on the season. By the way, there were a number of concerns about the field. Dave Ritchie, who's of course the head coach of the BC Lions, was a little concerned with the size. It doesn't exactly fit CFL standards. He said he wanted to walk in there and hopefully have no injuries. We're going to take another break. Stay tuned. CFL control in a few moments as we go back to the football game with Gordon Glenn.
Thanks very much, Jared. The numbers after 3 quarters, a couple stand out. Edmonton has 14 yards rushing in the football game, 4 turnovers, and time of possession, which favored Saskatchewan widely at the half, is now pretty close after Edmonton owned the ball for nearly 11 minutes in the 3rd quarter.
Yeah, and that big stat there is that rushing statistic, 14 yards for the Edmonton Eskimos. That was due to the pressure from Saskatchewan's defense. They were sending everybody. And actually, for a lot of the first half, Edmonton was running Lucius Floyd, and they were putting him out as a wide receiver in different positions. So they got him right away from their running game.
on third down, Glenn Harper is back to punt. Terrell Ulmer and Aaron Ruffin back to receive, and Harper drives this one low. This is Ruffin from his own 40. And he is swamped up at the 44-yard line. It's a 49-yard punt and a return of just 4. Bruce Dixon down to make the stop on special teams for the Edmonton Eskimos. So Tom Burgess and the offense get the ball back. They have not scored in the second half.
They really haven't had the ball in the second half so far. Time of possession so lopsided for Edmonton, but they did have some things happen. They threw that nice ball to Ray Elgard over the middle in the third quarter, and I'm sure they're going to try and build on that as the fourth quarter begins.
And Burgess goes back to the shotgun on first down. And they hand off to Hood. And Hood is wrapped up. Benny Goods got in quickly. So did Willie Pless. And that time, Hood got nowhere. It's a loss of 3.
You know, you got 2 veterans in Willie Pless and Benny Goods. And Saskatchewan has been running the same off-tackle play. It's like a draw off the shotgun formation. Willie Pless and Benny Goods have seen it for the whole first half. And when you get veterans, they see the same play a few times that you can't fool them, and they're going to be up there to stop it. Great penetration, nice play by 2 veterans of the Eskimos.
2nd and 13, and the wind starting to whip up at Taylor Field now into the faces of the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Burgess throwing into it for Don Narcisse. He got drilled. The safety, Trent Brown, hammered him and then taunted him afterwards.
And Trent Brown came into training camp this year and took the starting job at safety from Dan Murphy. Ron Lancaster really impressed with his camp and the way he started the season, and he's coming out to help his corner, Darian Hagan. His job from the inside is to put a little pressure on him, and he's going to let the receiver know that he's there and puts the lick on Narcisse.
Don Narcisse is a great CFL receiver, but he had the crocodile arms that time, the little short ones. As he saw that hit coming, he pulled the arms right back in.
It's exactly what the safety wants to do.
Maddox back to punt. Booming kick. Here's Henry Williams from the 20. The Gizmo trying to get outside, got around Elgard. Here he comes. Gizmo, he's got the punter to beat. Maddox slowed him up. Here comes Ron Getz, and he gets him down at the Saskatchewan 40-yard line. The punter, Brent Maddox, slowed him up just long enough. It's a 50-yard punt return for Edmonton. Eskimos trail by 7.
The CFL live on TSN. Brought to you by Pepsi. Pepsi reminds you to be young, have fun, drink Pepsi. And by Bell Advantage Long Distance Services from the Alliance of Canada's only full-service telecommunications companies.
You know that 50-yard return by the Gizmo? Forget about it. It's wiped out because as the ball was coming down, a flag came down at midfield. Holding was the call against Edmonton. It's a net loss of 60 yards.
Yeah, it looks like right in the middle of your screen here. You'll see in just a minute after Gizmo breaks through. But Maddox does a perfect job kicking it right to the corner. And little hold by Dixon on David Pitcher, who prides himself on these special teams. The referee caught it. So that wipes out the 50-yard game by Gizmo.
Now starting from their own 10, Vargas hangs it up. He's got a man, Lucius Floyd. And Lucius Floyd in a foot race. Here comes Lucius Floyd. And they're not going to get him. It's a 100-yard touchdown for Lucius Floyd. Unbelievable.
Talk about momentum changes. Wow. Lucius Floyd runs the out and up pattern, and 100 yards later is doing his dance in the end zone. And how about this guy, Chris Vargas? What a job coming in relief of Kerwin Bell and generating some offense for this team. And we talked about that delay giving Edmonton a little bit of momentum coming out of the rain delay, but wow, I didn't know it'd be this big.
Lucius Floyd had a 72-yard touchdown last week. This week, he goes 100 yards for the score. Unbelievable. So the Edmonton Eskimos, who had a 50-yard punt return wiped out by a penalty, score a 100-yard score on the next play. And now the point after from Sean Fleming. It is up and good. And with 12:27 to play in the fourth quarter, the Edmonton Eskimos have tied the game.
Well, again, injury is one of the problems here for the Saskatchewan Roughriders because it's causing backup Errol Brown to be in man-to-man coverage on Lucius Floyd. He's out of position because he's not a linebacker. He's a backup free safety. Floyd runs the out and up down the sideline. Errol Brown bit on the out, and then it's a foot race, and Lucius Floyd takes off and gets to the end zone 100 yards later, and Vargas sees what he wants, and he just got to put that ball right down the sideline to Floyd. A nice shot because he was under pressure again, and then the race is on, and Floyd wins it. Chris Vargas, a happy guy after that throw, especially when you get something like the return of Gizmo Williams called back for you. Vargas comes in, and when you thought you lost that momentum, he goes 100 yards in one play and gets it right back for your team. And great job by Chris Vargas coming off the bench and generating some big-time offense for Edmonton.
And now Sean Fleming to kick it off. This is Larry Thompson from the 10, and Thompson gets outside. Thompson still going, and finally driven out of bounds. But not before he gets up to the 37-yard line, and it was the kicker, Sean Fleming, who stuck his helmet in there and made the stop. Lucius Floyd has -3 yards rushing and 108 receiving.
Well, it's all due to the fact that Saskatchewan's defense is pressure, and they're getting Lucius Floyd out there in the pass patterns more. Now, they haven't been able to get him the ball through the air either until now, and what a time to do it, to come back and tie the football game on a 100-yard pass to Lucius Floyd, and he's back involved in the offense.
And Burgess gives it off to John Hood. Hood is upended. What a tackle by Singor Mobley, who sends John Hood cartwheeling through the air.
Singor Mobley had his first interception, and you know that's on his mantelpiece last week versus the Argos, and came up and made the nice play. But it's nice to see that the Saskatchewan Roughriders offense isn't panicking. They just had some momentum switch. They're sticking with their game plan, running the ball a little bit and then going to the shotgun on second down.
On second down, here's Burgess pumping, faking. Here's Thompson, and he gets drilled up at the sidelines, but he makes the catch up at the Edmonton 49-yard line. Glenn Rogers drilled him out of bounds, but not before he got 18 yards on a Saskatchewan first down.
Nice play by both quarterback and receiver to find the hole in the zone, give the little pump fake, and then watch the concentration by Larry Thompson. He had to go back against his body and keep his feet in bounds and make the catch. You can't teach that. That's athletic ability, and Larry Thompson is one of the best.
Now inside Edmonton territory in a tie football game. The give goes to Hood, and he gets not very far. Larry Ruck got a piece of him, as did Benny Goods, number 40, to limit the gain to 2.
Benny Goods, Larry Ruck again seeing that draw play out of the shotgun that Saskatchewan has run for a good part of this football game. They get in the shotgun, they run the draw play, but this Edmonton defense has seen this play a few times in the game, and Goods and Larry Ruck are up there to stop it for a short gain.
If you're just joining us, play was interrupted with 10:50 to play in the third quarter by lightning and rain. Saskatchewan hasn't scored since. Here's Burgess gunning it there. Flags are down. Larry Thompson was bumping with Darian Hagan, and we're going to have pass interference against the Edmonton Eskimos. Darian Hagan, the player the Eskimos acquired from Las Vegas in the dispersal draft, will be called for pass interference.
And it looked like Darian Hagan bit on that first pump fake by Tom Burgess, and get the call here.
To number 4, it's a first down.
And Darian Hagan has been playing great football for the Edmonton Eskimos for these first 2 games. Tom Burgess is going to look right at him, give him the quick little look, and then he has to grab him because Thompson's going by. And if there's a good penalty, if you could say that there's ever a good penalty, that could be it, because Hagan was beat on the play.
Now a first down from the Edmonton 21. Burgess waits, throws over the middle. Elgard, what a catch! No, he didn't get it. Elgard Dome had the ball for a second, and then it came out at the end. Oh, man, Ray Elgard almost had the circus grab.
Well, what an attempt by Ray Elgard, but Tom Burgess sees him in that same play we saw earlier, coming over the middle in the zone defense, and right in behind Larry Ruck, who slightly overran the play, and Elgard just inches away from making the big one-hand grab there. You know, he's got those glass-cutting gloves on, too, and almost came up with a big catch in that instance.
Now it's second down for the Riders, and from the shotgun, Elgard, he got an early start. Burgess to the end zone, way over the head of his intended receiver. He was looking to the end zone for who else? Albert Turner, the man that makes so many touchdown receptions, but Tom Burgess and the offense leave the field frustrated with 10:05 to go in the fourth quarter. It'll be up to Dave Ridgway and the field goal unit. And one thing about Dave Ridgway, as I look out there, Dave Ridgway has the only light green jersey out there. He's totally dry. And at this time, we welcome viewers in Saskatchewan who are rejoining us now as their cable service has just been restored due to this storm. So we are now once again a truly national network.
And you know, when Dave Ridgway saw that rain, he put the jacket on immediately, so that's why his jersey's clean.
Ridgway rather, from the 28, puts it up and good. And the Saskatchewan Roughriders are back on top thanks to Dave Ridgway's fourth field goal of the game. And Dave Ridgway's had a lot of success against Edmonton in his career. You think back to 1988, he set the CFL record for field goals in a game when he kicked 8.
Okay, that looks like you're hesitating or something.
Well, I was looking for the high.
Yeah, okay,
exactly,
okay.
Because the halfback came.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, Pooch!
Ray Yock talking to Albert Turner on the instance, because during the play that he went deep and Burgess missed him, he sort of hesitated and looked like he was trying to read too much. And Ray Yock simply saying, listen, we get down in there, you got a pattern call, run your pattern hard first, and if you start to think too much out there, that's when we start to make mistakes. And he's just telling the young receiver to go hard.
And you see Hugh Campbell, the Edmonton Eskimo general manager, talking to Henry Williams, and it's amazing to see Hugh Campbell and Ron Lancaster back in here in this great stadium, and there are a couple of Hall of Famers. So is Forrest Gregg. His son Forrest Jr. is also a coach for the Shreveport Pirates, who will take on the Calgary Stampeders. Doug Flutie and company's first visit to Shreveport. We'll have it for you tomorrow night at 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific time.
Yeah, Stamps had their problems in Memphis. They won the game, but in their opener, they had some problems with Memphis. It's a pretty close game, and they possibly not as dominant.
You saw Ron Lancaster there a moment ago. He taught school here after his career was over at Central Collegiate in Regina, and they tore the school down last year. Everyone from the school got a brick, but they couldn't get one to Ron. Last year, Damon Allen was going for a pregame walk, and a guy pulled up, got out of his car with a brick in his hand, and Allen went to run the other way. Said, no, give this to Coach Lancaster. It's from his old school. Damon didn't know what to think when a Saskatchewan Roughrider fan got out of his car with a brick. Now the Eskimos, with Chris Vargas at the control, start 1st and 10 from their 35. Vargas up and gunning, and in behind Jim Sandusky, as the coverage was provided by Brian Randall out on the corner. For those of you who are just joining us, voluntarily or otherwise, here's what's happened so far. Lucius Floyd has a 100-yard pass and run touchdown from Chris Vargas. Edmonton has scored 13 times in the second half, or 13 points rather in the second half. The game was delayed for about 25 minutes by a blackout and lightning storm, and John Hood has 62 yards rushing for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. On second down, Vargas. Over the middle it goes, and it's complete as he fires it in there for Nick Mazzoli. Dave Van Bellingham on the coverage, but it's a first down for the Edmonton Eskimos.